be good now. Is it better, Ding Dan? If you could let me know in the chat, that'd be awesome. But cool, we got the draft going on here, guys. Sorry about that. Essentially, we had the number 1 overall pick there. What I was saying is anytime you get that on best ball, you want to go ahead and take McCaffrey. He's being drafted at essentially 1.1, which means in every draft that you're having, he's going to be the number 1 overall pick. So Christian McCaffrey was no-brainer right there. Let's see. Ding Dan, if you could let me know in the chat if this sounds better, that would be awesome. It should be now. My mic's not muted anymore. So we'll see. So we got our good running back in round 1. We're going to be drafting at 24 next. So we can go down and look at the board, see what's likely to be available to us. It's likely going to be a wide receiver, right? So we're going to hope that someone like Justin Jefferson, potentially a tight end like Darren Waller falls to us. If we end up getting somebody like Keenan Allen, CD Lamb, we're going to be all right as well. So we'll see who falls to us, if anyone there. Perfect. Cool. Sounds good. Thank you for letting me know that, by the way. Let's see who was drafted during all that turmoil there. So see number 2, no surprises right there with Chris Kamara. Number 2 on my board, a lot of people are going to Dalvin Cook, but anytime you have PPR involved, even half a point PPR like you have here, Alvin Kamara is going to be the pick over somebody like Dalvin Cook. Number 4, Derrick Henry. Don't hate the pick. It's pretty much on ADP. Same thing with Travis Kelce and Tyra Kill. Again, that's a little bit of a strange pick to me. You could very easily have taken Devontae Adams there. Has a much higher ceiling. Is going to get a lot more volume. Just not as many great targets out there in Green Bay, right? In Kansas City, you have Travis Kelce, a very good running back, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire as well. So that's a little bit surprising to me. I would have flip-flopped those 2 picks. Aaron Jones, I think that's a little bit early for him as well. So let's take a look here. You're going to see a lot of these guys come off the board. Austin Eckler, very surprised that he didn't go instead of Aaron Jones. A lot of people are going with Aaron Jones and then trying to take Aaron Rodgers, kind of go with the game stack. In DFS, I don't hate that, right? Because we'll talk about the strategy now that we have some time. We have like 10 picks in between here. In DFS, a lot of people in best ball are looking to win their first 14 weeks. They usually do it in segments. The first 14 weeks moves on to week 15. Then you'll face off against 12 other people. If you win that week, then you go on to week 16, so on and so forth, until there's only 12 people left there in week 17. What you're essentially looking to do is have the best lineup for those last 4 weeks. And pretty much every single year, there's that one team that goes off, scores 35 to 40 points every game coming down the stretch. And that's essentially what you need. You need a game stack of that team, a team that gets hot right before the playoffs. So I don't hate going to a team like Green Bay, right? Going to a real good quarterback, a solid top tier option as well. You obviously want to fill that with somebody like Robert Tonyan. You could go to someone like Lazard, Marcus Valdes-Scantling, anything like that. So I don't hate that strategy, but to take a wide receiver in the first round, I think you want to do that in a stack if you can. Those top tier options don't come very often. If you have somebody like Christian McCaffrey, though, you don't really want to stack the Carolina offense. Sam Darnold's not necessarily a flamethrower by any means. But if you're taking one of those early receivers, I don't hate it at all. Even obviously with Tyreek Hill, you can stack with Patrick Mahomes. But unfortunately, you're going to have to take Mahomes in the second round. He's going right around 20 ADP right now, 20.5. So if you want to get that kind of stack, you're going to have to invest early. You can do that with Kelce as well. But again, that's just a lot of investment early on in a draft. And for me, it's just a little bit too much. I see myself doing it a lot more with, guys like Adams, doing it with guys like, Hopkins, Metcalf. Metcalf is really interesting. You can do Metcalf, Lockett, Wilson. That's one of my favorite stacks of the entire year. So let's see. Let's check on the pick history here. We can see Saquon Barkley went a little bit earlier than usual. That's right where I'd take him, right at that 12 slot. Again, a lot of reports are coming out that he's looking healthy. He's going to be good for week 1. A lot of the reason that he was going in the second round earlier in the summer was because of the question marks behind him, right? People didn't know if he was going to be starting week 1, didn't know if he was going to be at full health. But now that there's question marks out of the way, he's being drafted right where he should be. So I'm actually a little bit colder on him than I was in the past, just because I got him in the second round in so many lineups earlier this year. So for me to take him in the first round, I don't love that. Let's see, DK Metcalf went there. It's a great pick. A little bit earlier than most are taking DK this year, but I'm definitely a fan of Metcalf. Yeah, even Hopkins went earlier than usual. There's actually been quite a run on wide receivers here. So let's take note of that. I think because Tyreek Hill went so early, people have started panic buying on wide receiver. which puts us at a fork road here. We're about to have 2 picks in a row. So if you really want to go and finish off that run, we can. We could take 2 of these elite tier wide receivers, somebody like A.J. Brown or Keenan Allen. But for me, I don't necessarily like that as much, right? I usually go about ADP if I have to. I think when runs like this happen, you end up having a lot of value at other positions. So we can take a look at this at the 24-25 slot. We're going to be able to get somebody like Darren Waller if we want to. Also go to someone like Justin Jefferson, who I have much higher than that, at 21 right here. He's going at 24. It puts us in a little bit of a crossroads, right? Do we continue with that run or do we take ADP? Or do we go half and half, kind of go with the run, take 1 wide receiver, and then take the ultimate value up here with Waller? We'll see. Waller went. That makes our decision a lot easier. See, Kittle's not worth spending up to me. So Justin Jefferson, slam dunk pick right here. Again, I have him ranked 21. Now it's whether I want to go to Keenan Allen or to go to George Kittle. George Kittle, I'm not sold on him as much as most. So we're going to go with Keenan Allen here, guys. Somebody who you can't go wrong with, has Justin Herbert, who's only going to be better in his second year around. Was a rookie, didn't even have a training camp, and went out there and put up some really good numbers. Obviously, now that he has acclimated to the offense, is going to have more experience with that offensive coordinator with all the weapons as well. I expect even better numbers from Justin Herbert. And I especially hope so, given I have so many cards of his in terms of memorabilia, signed cards, and whatnot. I'm hoping for it that way as well. So a little bit of investment there. See, I do foresee an issue. We do have shared bye weeks there with 2 of our stud wide receivers. It's not necessarily a massive issue, but we're going to have to address that at some point. So we're not going to be drafting for quite a while here, probably another 20 picks. Let's see. We're not until like 48. Yeah, 48. So we have a while into our picks. So let's go ahead and map out some of the people that we might want to target down there. So we're definitely going to be looking for a running back potentially. So we're going to be maybe getting Mike Davis. He might get swooped up. His ADP has been flying up the board, guys. Earlier this year, maybe even just 2 weeks ago, was being drafted in the 65-70 range. Now is up here at 53. A lot of that just has to do with him solidifying his role. He's been named the starter. We've seen him in the preseason, that kind of thing. Most starts been flying up the board. But I really like Mike Davis there. I would like Miles Sanders, but again, we're drafting at 48. I doubt that he falls to us. His ADP is 46, and he's a running back, and it's very scarce right now. You only have these top 4 guys there. Let's take a look at wide receiver. I don't mind stacking wide receiver early. It's by far the most important position when it comes to best ball. So don't mind stacking it. We do have Tyler Lockett there. There's not really any options here for a stack. We could go with Adam Thielen. Be way too early to take him though. So let's see how many wide receivers get drafted over these next 10 picks. But we could potentially wait and still try to get a stack with Thielen. Maybe take him with our second pick because we do have 2 in a row. We'll have to see how many guys go here. Let's go ahead and take a look at the board. Oh, wow, they're drafting fast now. Good stuff. Not going to take us all night to do our 3-4 drafts. Good stuff. Let's see. Kittle went right after. Again, you got to expect that. Gus Edwards. Wow, Josh Allen went that early. Did he go before Mahomes? No, Mahomes just went early too. Okay. Swifty, Woods, Sanders. Yeah, a lot of our preferred picks are going off the board right before we're picking. Not new when it comes to fantasy, right? You're always going to get sniped. People are pretty sharp, especially when they're putting money behind their picks. It's not like how it used to be a couple years ago where we were playing DFS. People weren't that sharp. You could really beat people just by putting in minimal effort, just doing a little bit of research and whatnot. But these days, there's quite an experience edge out there, quite a learning curve. You have a lot of really sharp people. And it makes sense, right? You're putting money into it. You don't want to be bad, right? You want to make some money. So I wish there were more people that sucked out there, but not the case. We may be able to get Mike Davis. I would be pretty excited about that. So let's see. Let's hold our breath here to see if we can get some Mike Davis. Come on. Because if I don't pick him here, he's definitely going to go. We'll have to see. Didn't go. Okay, love to see that. Definitely going to try and stack up wide receiver here. Ooh, I'm thinking we're going to go with the Minnesota stack, guys. So typically, you wouldn't want to draft 3 people with the same bye week this early. I am slightly regretting that. Obviously, week 7 is going to be a little bit rough for us, but we're able to stack up Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen, and that's going to give us a ton of value, especially if they end up going and run it this year. Kirk Cousins, a lot of volume on that offense. I mean, Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen were both top 20 wide receivers last year in fantasy. So if they can replicate that, if they can go on a run at the end of the year, they could be really valuable in this format. You know, a lot of people are just looking to get through this first 14 games, and that's not the right strategy to have for best ball. Obviously, if you get through the first 14 games, you're cashing at the very least, making some money. And for some people, that might be what they're looking for. But this is a GPP, right? You're trying to win first place. You're trying to take down $100,000. I'm entering 150 lineups into this contest. So for me, I'm looking to take down high upside, right? I'm trying to finish first place. And the way to do that is to have a stack and to have that go off. So for some people, they may not understand that strategy, but that's what I'm going for when I'm doing something like that. And I highly recommend that. You know, in best ball formats, that's how you go ahead and win. Obviously, Kirk Cousins is going to scale and snowball points with those wide receivers when he throws touchdown. They'll both get credit, that kind of thing. So that's the thought process there. Just wanted to give that to you guys. So again, we're not going to have many picks for a while. Quarterback only going to be an option here if we have someone fall to us. So you can see we're not going to be picking here until nearly 60. Yeah, no, sorry, not 60, another 10, 12 after that. 72 there. So it's very unlikely that somebody like Dak Prescott falls to us. He does. I'm going to be all over him. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks this year. Just not somebody I'm willing to reach on. You know, be somebody that falls to me. I'm willing to take him. I have him in 35% of my best ball lineups right now. So quite a few of them. So when he falls to me, I do take him, but I don't reach on him. You can see Aaron Rodgers likely to be taken before Prescott. Again, even more so with Aaron Rodgers, only somebody I take if he falls to me in something like, you know, the 6th round or something like that. Where I'm probably going to be living is in this range right here. So Tom Brady, Matt Stafford, Justin Herbert. I may even take two of them back to back, right? I may take them with my next pick here. Tom Brady and Matthew Stafford are my preferred options. Just because I expect super high volume from Tom Brady. If you guys watched my showdown video today, I'm expecting 5,500 yards from Tom Brady, close to 45, 50 touchdowns. You may call me crazy for saying that, but just remember, they have an extra game this year. So it doesn't quite seem that crazy when you add that extra game in there. So just keep that in mind. I do think he has a great year. Same thing with Matt Stafford. I'm on record as saying I think Matt Stafford breaks sorry, let me rephrase this so I get this right. He breaks the passing yards record this year. That's what I think Matthew Stafford does. Throws for over 6,000 yards. We'll have to see. Again, Sean McVay, extremely high volume offense, perfect for Matthew Stafford. And Matthew Stafford's up there in the top 5 for the passing yard record and at freaking Detroit with horrible offense, horrible weapons. Now that he goes to a playing style where they're going to play even more plays, you know, they're very high pace, very fast offense, you know, hurry up offense almost the whole time. I think it's a no-brainer, especially with the extra game, right? He's going to have an extra 400 yards at the very least. I think that if you can find that at a sports book, I found it at one. I'd bet that. I absolutely love that. So we see Dak's still not been picked. That would be nice. You can see, let's see any other quarterbacks. You can see Aaron Rodgers was taken. Expected that. Okay. We have a shot at Dak Prescott. It's not impossible. This would be the point where I would take somebody like Dak, by the way. This is definitely considering him falling. Oh, Russell went. That's not good news, guys. He's likely to go now. So let's get us some backups going. A running back, we have 2 really solid options. I'm probably not looking for somebody in this range. My favorite option would be Sony Michel. I do think he earns a starting job by the end of the year. Did he end up getting picked? No. He did right before us. Okay. So now we're going to pivot. I really, really like Antonio Brown. You can see how I'm a 56 ranked player on my board. We got him here at 72. That is a great value. And then see, next time he comes around, we're not going to be able to get some of our guys here. So I think we're going to go with Tom Brady, guys. Not my favorite spot. I would have liked to get Dak Prescott, obviously. You know, we were one off of getting him, but Tom Brady, somebody that projects just worse than him for the year. I expect him to be a little bit more consistent than Dak, though. I expect him to be winning most of his games. Dak Prescott's going to have those huge games when they're losing by a ton, when he's playing catch-up. We saw that for the first 4 games last year, averaged over 500 yards per game. And that had a lot to do with them getting absolutely murdered, right? The teams were just playing prevent coverage, letting him go to town against them. And while his stats were great, he was obviously throwing the ball very well. That's not necessarily something you can rely on. You know, Tom Brady did it reliably, took apart defenses, didn't need to fall behind by 30, 40 points to put up a good game. So I don't hate getting to Tom Brady at all. I honestly, again, I wish we would have been able to get him a little bit later, but it is what it is. You have to take the best player available at times. And we were able to match him up with Antonio Brown. Obviously, I like stacking up players, like I said before. And if we can get a second player stack in here, I wouldn't mind it at all. So we obviously have to remember, I'm going to put him here in our queue. We're going to be taking Kirk Cousins at some point. And let's try to find the last piece of our stack for the Buccaneers. Again, those top 2 wide receivers, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, off the board at this point. We're taking off the board quite early. We're going to be looking at Rob Gronkowski, potentially OJ Howard later on in the draft. So if we get sniped on Rob Gronkowski, we'll go to OJ Howard. But again, we're going to try and get Gronk. Let's see. Got another 14 picks. So yeah, definitely going to be looking to get Kirk Cousins later on the draft, potentially around like 13, 14, something like that. And Rob Gronkowski, we're going to be looking to get in 3 or 4 more rounds. Let's see his ADP. Yeah, 3 or 4 more rounds. Not this type of round, probably the one after. All right, let's take a look at best player available. Let's see about ADP here. See, Deebo Samuel's gone way up the board. Somebody who I had a little bit higher than most coming into the year. And you can see his ADP is essentially approaching where I have him ranked, which very surprising to me. Again, he's the clear number 2, maybe even number 3 wide receiver out there in San Fran. But Trey Lance getting a lot of hype. People think the world of him. I'm a little bit behind where most people have Trey Lance right now. So Deebo Samuel, I'm just very surprised he's came this far up the board. People are really high on Trey Lance, it seems. See Cortland Sutton, crazy that he's back this fast after that horrific injury. He obviously was talking to the media the other day, talking about how well the doctors did with his surgery. I'm a little bit wary about that, right? I have him ranked at 102. You can see he's being drafted at 84. I'm not getting much of him this year. I think the injury is a much bigger deal than he's making it out to be quite honest with you. Well, Michael Pittman Jr. also coming way up the board. Wow. You see, he's being drafted 15 above my rank there. I don't agree with that. Carson Wentz is no Patrick Mahomes, right? He doesn't put up 350, 400 passing yard games. He's like more of like a 270, 280. Has a little bit of rushing upside, but rushing upside doesn't help Michael Pittman Jr. So I don't love that pick. He didn't really show that much as a rookie. I know he's looked good in the preseason, but again, that's against scrubs. So not as high on either of those 2 guys. Jalen Hurts, wow. Okay, there's some questionable picks going down here, guys. I'm here for it, though. I mean, yeah, he's well above ADP now. So, yeah, I would say he's being treated fairly there. So let's take a look at this, guys. I don't love anyone in this range. I do think we may go with Michael Thomas. I've been very adamant about that in the past, talking about just how much potential he brings further down the board. That's why we're going to go with him there. Again, he's supposed to be back for the last 6-7 games of the year. And that's when all the money goes down, right? Like I said before, you're really building for those last 3 weeks of the year. Tyler Higbee might be the pick here. Okay, we're going to go with Tyler Higbee, guys. I didn't love anyone in this range, to be honest with you. Again, I've expressed my concern about Michael Pittman with Cortland Sutton before. Jarvis Landry's in a run-first offense. Didn't have a great year last year unless Odell Beckham was out. Obviously, OBJ is back. Don't expect great things from him. Nico Hardman's likely to lose his job to Byron Pringle. Don't love him either. Jalen Waddle, I don't hate, but again, he was so far down the board. So I didn't like any of the options there, to be quite honest with you. I don't feel great about that pick, but we needed a tight end. I went to need rather than ADP. You want to avoid that if you can, but there was just a dead zone there. A lot of guys were fishing down the board for guys that I like, frankly. And in terms of value, obviously, Tyler Higbee was not a bad pick there. We got him slightly below ADP, but you can see here's why I like Tyler Higbee. So you can see he had some horrible games, 2 points. He essentially ghost in this 3-game stretch. We can see, especially early towards the year, 28 points, right? So he has these games, 28 points, 12 points, 16 points. He's capable of putting up pretty good stat lines, and a lot of it is touchdown dependent. But that was with Jared Goff, somebody who's far inferior to somebody like Matthew Stafford. He's going to put up a ton of yardage, likes going to his tight ends. I mean, made Hawkinson look like an absolute beast last year. So I expect a huge uptick in production from Higbee, and he's shown the touchdown production in the past. He's a very good red zone target, loves catching touchdowns. and isn't afraid to catch 3 in a game, 3, maybe even 4 in a game. We've seen it before. So I don't hate Higbee, but we definitely need better depth at tight end. We're going to be targeting that with one of our next picks, likely with Rob Gronkowski. Again, we're going to be picking right around, I believe it's like 124 or somewhere in that range, 120. So we're definitely going to be looking to get Rob Gronkowski. We're likely going to be looking to get another quarterback at some point as well. So we do have Tom Brady. We're going to be getting Kirk Cousins, but we might be looking to get somebody like Joe Burrow here. Absolutely love him this year. I think he's going to tear up defenses. Damn. So somebody, tight end. Oh, I really hope they don't take our boy. Somebody took Gesicki. All right. So let's see. Oh, my shit's all glitched out. I thought we were next up. I'm getting nervous about Gronk, guys. Very nervous. They are drafting well above ADP right now at tight end. Yikes. All right, well, let's find a pivot. So anytime this happens, obviously, we know he's likely to go off the board. People are going to continue that run. We have a lot of value further up the board. So at tight end, we're going to abandon that stack. It really isn't that important. We still are going to get that Viking stack. I'm not worried about that. But we can take a really good wide receiver, right? Marvin Jones, number 1 wide receiver on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence, rookie. I don't think he's going to put up catastrophic numbers or anything like that. So yeah, that was a great pick by who just took him there. I think he's going to get closer to wide receiver 1 stats, maybe 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns, that kind of thing. And to be getting him here in the 10th round, that is great value. So hats off to that guy there. I think that was a great pick. We're going to have to hope that Gronk survives these last 2 picks. I'm really hoping. Michael Carter, that's a stretch. I'm here for it, though. Only need 1 more to fall. And we're going to be able to get Kirk Cousins next time around, by the way. That's going to be our target. We're going to make sure we finish off that stack. Hopefully finish this one off as well. So let's see. Okay, cool. So we're able to get Gronk, guys. That was a little bit close right there. Didn't expect that run at tight end. People usually like to wait on tight end. It's not one of the sexier positions. I mean, there's not that many great guys at tight end. So maybe it's an opportunity cost example where people are trying to get their guy and essentially do it at any cost. But I disagree with that. It's one of the lower scoring positions in fantasy. Not really where you're looking to make your hay or anything like that. So we're picking. Oh my God, I almost forgot to pick. Oh my. That was not good, guys. Make sure you remember to make your picks. Jeez. Don't do what I just did. So I forgot we were going back to back. Is what it is. Still, we were able to get our guy, Henry Ruggs. Again, somebody in that Las Vegas offense, I really have a lot of attention. Sorry, I thought somebody took Hunter Renfrow as soon as I took Henry Ruggs. I was like, are you crazy? So I was going to talk about the Las Vegas offense, though. So Derek Carr, not going to put up any insane numbers or anything like that. But John Gruden, a really good offensive mastermind. We saw them come alive in the last 6 games last year. Averaged over 300 passing yards per game, which for Derek Carr, that's the first time in his career he's done that for more than 6 games at a time. So a lot of positive momentum coming into this year. Also, the offensive weapons are going to mature a lot as well. You had Bryan Edwards, somebody who was in his second year, really didn't show anything, but in this preseason has been an absolute stud, catching a lot of touchdowns. He's a really big framed guy, somebody who's not that fast, but can use his size to his advantage and has started to do so. So you'd love to see that from him. He's somebody we may target later in the draft, could potentially even make a 3rd stack there with Derek Carr, just because you're able to get some of these guys so late. Hunter Renfrow has apparently been a route running beast. I mean, we saw that last year. They call him Mr. Third Down. The highest third down efficiency of any wide receiver in the NFL. On third down, it was essentially him and then Julian Edelman, number 2. And then everyone else was so much farther in the pack. It wasn't even close. And then who else do we have there? John Brown's their wide receiver number 4. I believe they just cut him. So that just shows you the type of wide receiver depth that they have. Obviously really like that team. Who else I'm trying to think who else they have on that team. They have another wide receiver I absolutely love. So Bryan Edwards, Henry Ruggs, and Hunter Renfrow. Those are the 3. Ruggs, I'd say, is the highest potential of all of them. Obviously has a ton of speed, is the deep threat on that team. Didn't really show it last year. Obviously didn't have the training camp. Wasn't able to get a lot of the route tree down or anything like that. It was more of just a deep threat specialist in college. But people have a lot of faith in him. Again, he's really quick. Has some of the best metrics in terms of the shuttles, 3-cone drills, all those kind of things. He's like top notch, like some of the best we've ever seen since like Antonio Brown, that kind of thing. So if he has those quickness metrics, if he's able to put it together technically, he's going to be an absolute stud. I mean, separation for days. I mean, those kind of like physical attributes you don't find very often. So let's go to a question now that we have some time here, guys. So any thoughts on Jalen Darden? So to be quite honest with you, no, I don't have any thoughts on him. So let's bring him up here for you guys. He plays for Tampa Bay. He's wide receiver number 5 right now. So it's really just, I don't think he's going to have a role this year. So ahead of them, you have Scotty Miller. Scotty Miller is going to be an absolute stud this year. He was filled in last year. Was very effective, very good slot receiver. They also have Tyler Johnson. So Tyler Johnson, they took in the 2nd round last year. As of right now, both of those guys are above him on the depth chart. So in terms of a fantasy flyer, you could take him in the last round. So perhaps because we have so many bucks on our team, you might want to take him around like 19, 20 or something like that. But he just has so many bodies ahead of him, right? So it's going to take some injuries. He's going to have to really impress in camp and earn that job. Tyler Johnson was in the same position last year, right? Had a lot of guys ahead of him. Brashad Perriman before they let him go, that kind of thing. And he never ended up carving out that role. So I don't hate the pick. Again, I think he has a lot of potential. There's a reason why they took him where they did. But it's just maybe not this year. Maybe those leagues, dynasty leagues where you can have keepers and whatnot. Maybe in a keeper league, he's worth taking in a late round and then holding on to. I don't hate that at all. So we're going to go. We can probably wait on Kirk Cousins. Wait, Kirk Cousins got picked, guys. That's crazy. Somebody went ahead and took Kirk Cousins way above ADP. So we're going to go ahead and take a tight end here. Hooper. Yeah, I don't hate Hooper at all. So we're going to go ahead and take a wide receiver. So you never have too many wide receivers. I really like Bryan Edwards. So because we weren't able to complete that stack there, we are going to go ahead and try to build the other one with Las Vegas. So we already have Henry Ruggs, already have Bryan Edwards as well. So we're just going to make sure we get Derek Carr next time around, which shouldn't be a problem. Again, his ADP is 173. We're at 148 right now. So you can see we're just inside the ADP line right there. Unless there's some massive run at quarterback, which again, I don't expect. We should at least be able to have those 2 of those stacks. And to have these 2 wide receivers and not have the quarterback, it's not the end of the world, right? We still have Tom Brady. We're still going to have Derek Carr, very adequate quarterbacks, likely to put up a good score in week 17 as well. As long as they haven't clinched playoff berth or anything like that, home field advantage, that is. So let's see. So yeah, that's what I found in Jalen Darden. So again, a lot of that there, it's just opportunity. I'm not so sure whether he's going to get the targets this year. I'm not arguing whether he should or shouldn't. I mean, very, very talented. I mean, we saw him coming out of college, absolute stud. But again, we got to wait and see on him. I like Scotty Miller, though. So we may take Scotty Miller. If he usually doesn't even get taken. I'm going to see where his ADP is. You can see, yeah, 226. So he's essentially being taken in the last round, if anything. We can take him in round 20 as a flyer. I don't hate that at all. Let's see. Another 6 picks? No, 7 picks. Okay. Let's plan out quarterbacks. So we know we're going to get Derek Carr. Let's go ahead and figure this out beforehand. We're going to hope we get Derek Carr. There's been a massive run on quarterback, which this has been a wonky draft, guys. A lot of runs. The beauty of that, though, is that we've gotten very good picks, a lot of good value across the board. Michael Thomas fell to us a bit. I mean, a lot of sharp players are taking Michael Thomas there in round 7 or round 8. We got him in round 10 there. We are able to get Henry Ruggs and Bryan Edwards, so it's not the end of the world. We're going to be able to have 2 stacks, hopefully. Tight end, I really like our options as well. Hooper, not a very good option just because they run first offense, but he's the clear number 1 there, clear starter. Somebody's going to get quite a few touchdowns. We saw it last year, he had 8 touchdowns. Don't hate him. Let's see, Pat Freiermuth, well too early, guys. So I'm a Steeler fan. There are 2 people that are being drafted way too early this year. I can just tell you as an objective Steeler fan, I follow them. I've watched a lot of their training camp, that kind of thing. Freiermuth being taken way too early. He's the tight end 2 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Eric Ebron's still the starter. He's much faster, much more athletic, gets much more separation as well. Sure, he can't catch the damn ball, but Pat Freiermuth's a little bit of a stiff, right? Not that athletic, not that fast, at least when you compare him to Eric Ebron, an absolute specimen. So keep that in mind, being drafted way too early. Same thing with Najee Harris. Najee Harris is going to lose a lot of carries to Benny Snell. A lot of people are discounting Benny Snell's ability. He is definitely going to get a lot more carries than we expect. So yeah, Najee Harris maybe get 15 carries a game. We got sniped on Derek Carr. That's lovely. You love to see it. At this point, guys, the quarterbacks are all going off the board. I'm about to take 2 quarterbacks in a row here. This is absolutely ridiculous that we have to do this. But we are. So we just took 2 of the shittiest quarterbacks in the NFL, but we had to, right? People went absolutely nuts on quarterback. And if we didn't take them, guys, look who we would have been left with. Somebody like Jared Goff, Daniel Jones, and all, I mean, Garoppolo's starting, right, to begin the year. And that's it. All these guys are going to be backups. Wow, just wonky draft. Here in round 15, every quarterback is essentially off the board. That is unheard of. We got sniped on 2 of our lower level stacks as well. Typically, I'm taking those quarterbacks in around 17, 18, and we got sniped on them that early. That is that's a first for me, guys. I will say that is definitely a first. That does not happen very often. All right, so we're going to quarterback though. We have 3. Again, Sam Darnold. I think he's going to put up a lot of volume numbers. He's not going to be very efficient. There's a reason why even the New York Jets gave up on him. I'll just say that much. Teddy Bridgewater put up really good numbers with Carolina last year. The receiver core is a little bit of a downgrade, so I don't expect quite as good numbers, but he was a top 20 quarterback last year. So if he puts up top 20, top 25 numbers, I don't hate it. Obviously, we are going to be relying on Tom Brady, which I don't hate at all. Again, somebody I expect to be a top 7, top 8 quarterback this year. And I expect him to have some really big games, especially week 1 here against Dallas. He's going to absolutely light it up. Every single time he goes out after getting his ring, he's had good games in the past. Seems to fire him up a little bit. Obviously has a great wide receiver core as well, if not the best in the NFL, between Evans, Brown, and Godwin. Just 3 studs, 3 potential Pro Bowlers this year, to be quite honest with you. Let's see who these crazy guys are drafting. So actually, let's just look at the board and see who they're not drafting, because there's going to be some guys well below ADP. I mean, yeah, you guys, you can see we're in the 180 range right here. We have some guys on the board with 150 ADP at wide receiver. So we're going to be hammering wide receiver with our next 2 picks. Even though we're already stacked at that position with 7 of them, if we can go ahead and just bolster that position to the absolute max, I mean, let them carry us this year. I mean, obviously we're going to be playing one of them at the flex every week, seemingly. But you can ride that to a championship. Very helpful at wide receiver. It's where you're getting 20 to 30 point performances potentially. And that's how you get all the points in best ball, right? Running back, you're just looking to get by with 10 to 15 every week. If you have Derrick Henry, you'll score the eventual 40-point performance. But at wide receivers, where you have those ceilings, where you really take some of your guys off your bench week to week. So if you're going to bolster any position, do it at wide receiver. You'll hear that a lot online as well. You need 0 RB strategy, that kind of thing. That's the idea right there. Those ceiling performances are more likely from wide receivers than any other position. Obviously, quarterback's actually the least productive because they're pretty consistent. They usually score 15 to 25 points. And if you have a really, really good game at quarterback, you might get 30, right? You don't see 40, 50-point performances unless you're Michael Vick back there when he was on the Eagles. He put up a couple 40-point performances that year, which is absolutely ridiculous. Absolute stud. So we got Tyrell Williams. That was an auto pick for me right there. Tyrell Williams is the number 1 wide receiver on his team. And, we're getting him here in round 17. That is excellent value, to be quite honest with you. If you take a look at running back here, we don't have very much depth, but we do have 2 very good running backs. Don't hate Le'Veon Bell. He's likely to gain some time at some point, but we're going to go with Jerick McKinnon. So a lot of the potential with McKinnon is on 3rd down. He's going to be playing scat back for them. We saw him do that up there in the Vikings. We've seen him do it in the past with the 49ers. Somebody's going to get a lot of catches, which is great for this PPR format. But if Clyde Edwards-Helaire ends up going down, McKinnon could be in line for a huge year. I mean, his very good efficiency stats, averages right around 5.6 rushing yards per attempt. Again, catches a lot of balls out of the backfield. So if there's an injury there, he could potentially be in line for a huge day. But again, in this strategy, we were trying to line up a lot of wide receivers, really stack that. And we have 2 solid running backs. Number one on the board. We're going to be playing McCaffrey every single week. And Mike Davis is a very solid running back as well. Going to see 15 to 20 touches per game. We saw him in Carolina also catch a lot of balls. So very good in this PPR format. So I'm good with those 3 running backs. I don't think we need another one. A lot of people would be keen to going to a 4th, even 5th running back. But I don't think we need to. Let's stack up a few other positions, potentially even tight end once more. I've been getting Chris Herndon, guys. Let's talk about Chris Herndon here. Chris Herndon's probably my most exposed tight end I have of anyone. Typically someone I take in almost every draft towards the end of it. And it's because of the potential he has in that Minnesota offense. He was on the Jets, essentially a barren wasteland for fantasy, and still put up some really impressive performances, some 20-plus point performances with Sam Darnold as quarterback, even worse backups at times. So don't hate him. He's obviously a high-volume offense out there. Minnesota loves to use their tight ends. Obviously don't have Kyle Rudolph anymore. Irv Smith Jr. is on IR as well. So it's going to be Herndon, and then Tyler Conklin. And Tyler Conklin is a converted offensive lineman. So don't expect him to do much catching of the ball. I expect a lot of that to go to Herndon. And while he's new to the offense, was just traded, doesn't even know the playbook yet. It's going to take him some time. Once he gets it down, I expect huge things from him. Let's just hope he falls to us. If not, we're going to go with O.J. Howard. Again, one of the other pieces in Tampa Bay I don't hate going to. Actually, we may even go to Scotty Miller. We'll see how it goes. I don't hate Scotty Miller at all. Again, let's take a look at some of his numbers last year. So we're going to try and find the games where he was starting. So you can see right here, 11.6 points. He didn't even start that game. That was just a lot of production. I believe he had a running touchdown. We're now able to see that right there. You can see earlier in the year, 25 points. He started that game, had 9 targets, 6 catches, over 100 yards. Started this game right here as well, 7 targets, only 5 targets, but he's productive. 27 yards per catch. A lot of people, you can see down here, 6 catches for 73 yards. He's productive when he's gotten time in the past. So I really like Scotty Miller. Again, a lot of that's injury dependent. If one of those big 3 go down, he's a prime position to go out and absolutely score this year. Antonio Brown had the knee injury in the playoffs. Again, he's limited. He could be injured at any point. Mike Evans is made of glass, gets injured seemingly every 4 or 5 games. Again, Scotty Miller is likely to see time. And then Chris Godwin just got hurt yesterday. So again, he might not even play this week 1. I talked about that in my showdown video. Love Scotty Miller week 1. So he has more than enough opportunity to get in there. So we'll just say that much. So go ahead and we have our picks now. So we can see a couple of those wide receivers I pointed out did end up getting taken. We're going to go with Hunter Renfrow, though. That's another key part of that stack. Again, we don't have the quarterback, but don't hate that. And then we can see our boy Herndon did get picked. That's unfortunate. At tight end, I don't really like any of these options. We could go with Jimmy Graham, but again, we can take him there in round 20. Let's take a look running back. There's not really any options I love there either. So for us, we're going to be going to wide receiver, taking KJ Hamler. KJ Hamler's kind of being the odd man out up there in Denver. Somebody who a lot of people are giving attention to the other 2 guys, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton. But KJ Hamler had a secretly good year last year. So let's take a look at his game log. He had 22 points there in week 14, 15 points on 10 targets there in week 9. Also had 10 targets the next week. Didn't capitalize, only put up 9 points. But we saw him get a lot of targets in the rookie season. And, again, that wasn't expected. He was expected to be more of a special teams player. We see 7 targets in week 2, 5 targets week 3. That's only going to increase now that he has more route running ability, has a lot more familiarity with the offense as well. So really like going to somebody like KJ Hamler when we did there. So we have 10 wide receivers, guys. We are done with wide receiver. This is going to be a wide receiver only draft, essentially, our 0 RB strategy. But our 0 RB strategy is based around 2 stud running backs. So that's what you want to do there. I absolutely love this team. Would have wished we would have gone a few of those quarterbacks, right? So instead of having 10 wide receivers, we would have been looking at closer to 8, a little bit more balanced, what we're used to seeing from a lot of other DFS players. But we got sniped on those quarterbacks, is what it is. Still have a very strong stack there with Tom Brady. And don't hate our backup options either. They're lower tier quarterbacks, but at the very least, we have 3 quarterbacks where we can expect one of them to have a decent week and one of them to put up 20, 25 fantasy points. So we're going to have the last pick of the draft, guys. So we're probably going to pick Scotty Miller. Just go ahead and cue him up here. Take a look at a few backups just in case. I mean, we've been sniped this many times already, so need to get a backup option at the very least. Let's see, is OJ Howard available? I doubt it. Yeah, no. Yeah, we're gonna hope Scotty Miller stays there. There's not many guys on the board right now. I really would go Darden if we have to. Again, I talked before. He needs 2 injuries instead of 1 to start. For Scotty Miller, again, I think that's a lot more likely. But again, if we have to, we can go with them. So let's see what happens here. Got another 10 picks until we're up. We're going to go with another question because we have some time here. So Deluxe Krang says, Joe Mixon or Edwards-Helaire? So for me, that is Joe Mixon. So let's take a look at let's do a comparison right here. So let's take a look at Clyde first. Let's see, I have him ranked at 17. Actually, I believe I may have Mixon ranked ahead of him. I do. So actually, I take that back. This was changed today. So I ran my predictions this morning. I have Clyde Edwards-Helaire coming out a little bit higher. So this is because this is a PPR league. Last year, Clyde Edwards-Helaire had a lot more catches than somebody like Joe Mixon. When we finish this draft, I'm going to do a little bit more of a deeper dive on that for you, so we can give you the full answer there. But the short answer is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You see I have him there at 17. And Joe Mixon we have there at 20. So don't hate either. Clyde, you can see his ADP is down there at 28. So that gives you even more opportunity to draft him as well. So and you can see Mixon's being drafted around 21. So actually 22 now. He's dropped a little bit. So you have to take Mixon a lot earlier than you do Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And I like Helaire more anyways. So 1 second, we'll give you a little bit more of a deeper dive. Let's see if we can get our guy Scotty Miller here first. We don't really need an 11th wide receiver. There's no running backs and there's no quarterbacks available. Our tight end position's already like this is the wonkiest draft I've ever been in. This is ridiculous. Go with Le'Veon Bell, honestly. If Gus Edwards goes down, freaking Le'Veon Bell is a starter. All right, so let's stay on here so we can go through that deep dive for you. So we're going to bring up Joe Mixon first. So Joe Mixon, I have him ranked at number 20. His ADP is 22 right now. So obviously, I'm a little bit higher on him than the public right now. Don't hate his bounce back ability at all. He was a very high potential player last year. Had a lot of boom bust performances. You can see he had 45 points here in week 4. Very solid performances other times out. Got tons of carries, 18, 24, 25. Very solid workload. Obviously, the issue with him is the injury, right? Went down with that severe injury, was banged up going into the year. We didn't see him until week 2, and they kind of eased him into his contact. Didn't see over 20 touches until week 4, and subsequently got hurt in week 6. So a little bit concerning right there. So that's the reason why he comes in after Helaire. But let's take a look at Helaire's numbers. Not the best, right? You can see his best games were earlier on in the year, a few 20-point games. A little bit consistent towards the beginning of the year, was giving you the numbers you wanted. But towards the end of the year when they had Le'Veon Bell, those numbers went down. And that's because he wasn't getting as many targets out of the backfield. They started giving them to Le'Veon Bell, hell, even to Williams in the backfield. And now that they have Jerick McKinnon, I don't expect that to be the case. McKinnon's a veteran at this point, year 12, year 13, something like that in the NFL. He hasn't established himself anywhere. I drafted him in this draft. I don't hate him at all. If Helaire ends up getting hurt, he would be in a very good role just because he scores so many points out there in Kansas City. But Helaire is going to get a ton of goal line touches. It's going to be likely to score a ton of touchdowns. It's the clear number 1 back out there. McKinnon is not going to be stealing any carries from Helaire. They're obviously not even on the same range of talent. So he's not dealing with injury. He's a very carved out role in a very good offense. So that's why I'm going to Helaire in those instances. Let's go ahead and join another one of these drafts, guys. Actually, I want to go ahead and show you guys my NFTs here while this loads up because we have to wait for the draft to start, obviously. So let's go ahead and get that started. Okay. So yeah, I want to go over and show you my these NFT things. So look, you can see I got 3 of those Derek Jeter NFTs. Bought one off there. They're pumping right now. Obviously, got inducted into the Hall of Fame today. So at the start of the day, where this was right around $400. Down here, these guys were right around like 135, something like that. They pumped up quite a bit. So expect that to continue. Just a little side there. The whole NFT marketplace is just ridiculous to me, right? I don't necessarily understand the concept or anything like that. Even as a tech guy, it's just, I obviously understand they're unique. You can sell them on the blockchain or whatever. I just don't understand how they're worth as much as they are. Some of them have utility. Others like these ones, on DraftKings don't have utility. I don't really understand them. So we'll just leave it at that. All right. So in this draft, guys, we have the 5th overall pick. Don't hate that at all. With the number 5 pick, we can hope that somebody up here drops to us. A lot of times Kamara will drop. I've seen him drop to 4 or 5 a few times. Henry, same kind of thing. You'll see him drop to 5 or 6. But if all these guys end up being drafted, we're usually looking at wide receiver. Devontae Adams, I don't hate going to in the first round. Love pairing him up with Aaron Rodgers. Love creating a team stack with Tanyan as well. And sometimes Adams goes early and opens up one of these running backs. So for me, it's pretty, black and white to me. We either take Adams if all the running backs get taken, or we take whatever running back drops. So we'll see how that works out there. Deluxe, hope that answered your question about Mixon or Edwards, though. Edwards, just more opportunity, right? You're dealing with one of the best offenses in the NFL, and you don't have the injury question marks. You're able to get him later in drafts too. So for pretty much every single reason, he's better. But I have Mixon in plenty of my best ball lineups. I believe of the 100 drafts I've done so far, I have him about 22, something like that. I'll have to check. I've done a bunch of drafts today, so that number may have changed a little bit, but have plenty of them. He tends to drop pretty far in drafts as well. People don't like the injury concern. So if Edwards Hilaire's off the board, you can go with Mixon. You can see Henry dropped to us. Absolutely love Derrick Henry. Let's go ahead and look at his numbers from last year just to show you why. 39 points, 28, 39, 41, 43, 20, 30, right? So he puts up these ceiling performances where no one else on the board can even touch his fantasy performance. And if you're dealing with that, you get into the playoffs where you're in weeks 15, 16, 17, trying to win the $1 million. You need that. You need that 40, 45 point performance. And Derrick Henry is very capable of that. Somebody else who's capable of that is Devontae Adams. That's why I like taking him there at number 5. Obviously, we saw it a few times last year. Let's go ahead and show you some of those performances. You can see 46 points. Casually puts up 20 essentially every single week. 37, 26, 36, 30, 47. I mean, when you're taking guys early in the first round, you're really looking for those ceiling spike performances. That's really why I love those guys the most. Let's take a look at Tyra Kill as well. So you can see I have him ranked at number 6 on my board. His ADP is much higher, closer to 9 or 10. It's because of these spike performances, 29, 20. Where's the 60? Yeah, I was going to say, where's the 60 bomb, right? There's not anyone else in the NFL capable of putting up a 60 bomb. So those are the kind of guys I'm looking to get in round 1, unless I'm taking somebody like Christian McCaffrey. So Mahomes went at 14, guys. So when they say there's no edge in best ball, just show them this, right? Patrick Mahomes taken at the beginning of round 2. Like, what are you doing? And I would understand it if it was a stack, if he actually ended up getting Tyreek Hill, but he didn't, right? And he didn't take Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce was taken at number 4. I don't necessarily understand that. Let's see. Any other questionable picks? Can we roast anyone else here? I mean, every other pick's pretty solid. Can't really fault anyone there. See, I hate Antonio Gibson, but everyone else likes him. Can't really fault the guy for that. So let's see where we're getting here. We obviously had Derrick Henry. I would love to get a wide receiver here. As of right now, I'd be taking DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah, so we're definitely going to be taking Hopkins. We're getting him below ADP, which I always like. DeAndre Hopkins with Kyler Murray is going to be an absolute lethal combo this year. DeAndre Hopkins was hurt for a lot of last year, was hampered, wasn't 100%, wasn't very explosive, but he still had a great year. I mean, let's take a look at his numbers. Was in top 5 fantasy wide receiver. He was able to put 34 points in a game, 28, 28, 28. Just solid numbers across the board. And again, I think we saw probably 85% of DeAndre Hopkins. So here in 2021, now that he's at 100% health, has another year of experience with Kyler Murray. Having AJ Green and Chris Kirk out there is going to help him as well. Very good, solid targets. Isn't just 1 or 2 guys out there anymore with Kirk and Hopkins. Now they have 3 or 4 solid wide receivers. Took a guy in the 3rd round. I forget his name. He's got a lot of steam coming behind him. They also have Chris Kirk as well. So Andy Isabella. That team's got a lot of solid wide receivers. So DeAndre Hopkins is going to have a lot of attention diverted away from him. I expect his numbers to rebound in a big way. You can see we have here our next pick at 29. And we potentially might have Hilaire drop to us. You can see I have him ranked at 17 here. That would be quite a find. He got taken. That's expected. CD Lamb, maybe a pick here, to be quite honest with you. Absolutely love CD Lamb. One of my favorite picks on the entire board. Only reason we don't want to go with Montgomery is I already have a solid running back. Taking 2 running backs this early, at least in my opinion, is a mistake unless someone falls to you and it's just ungodly value. You can see he's my 24th ranked player. It's not ungodly value or anything like that, just 5 slots. You see he got taken anyways. It's going to make our pick very easy for us. CD Lamb, very, very effective wide receiver, very efficient, good after the catch, also catches a bunch of deep balls as well. And if you guys just see him in person, if you've watched him on tape, you know why he's just an absolute stud. Has feet control that resemble Antonio Brown's feet, is very explosive, very quick as well. CD Lamb's going to be a top 10 wide receiver for probably the next 10 years. Could potentially even be top 5 or top 3 in the NFL at some point. Not going to happen this year or next year, maybe 3 or 4 years from now, but he has that kind of potential, that kind of explosiveness as a wide receiver. So we can see it was a good start so far. We have 2 stud wide receivers, 2 that I think end up being top 10 wide receivers this year, potentially even top 5 for Hopkins. Derrick Henry, absolute stud. I showed you the amount of 30, 40-point performances that he had there in 2020. Can never go wrong when you end up getting him down there with the number 5 pick. But let's plan out our next pick. We're going to be over here at 44. We're going to be looking for another wide receiver if we can. And we're going to be potentially in this range right here, with Chris Godwin, Tyler Lockett. If Mike Evans or Cooper Kupp drop to us, we'd be absolutely thrilled. But we have another 8 picks in front of us, so it's not as likely, but we can always hope. So let's see. Amari Cooper would be a dream scenario again. And we would definitely take Dak Prescott with our next pick if that happened. That would be the dream stack. I've actually never secured that stack before, so let's see if we can potentially do it on stream for the first time. That'd be pretty cool. But again, not very likely. He is the best player on the board in terms of ADP, at least the best or second best. So let's sort it by that. Yeah, he's the best now, so not likely, but we can hope. Hell, Miles Sanders. So again, like I said, I don't like taking a second running back very early unless one falls to us. And that would definitely qualify here with Miles Sanders. You can see we'd be taking him slightly above ADP, but for me, I have him ranked as a number 32 player overall. Really like the Philly offense. I think that it's a little bit underrated this year. Also think that Miles Sanders is going to contribute with passing and with his running. He's able to catch balls out of the backfield, has better hands than most, very explosive, elusive as well. So it's going to be a 3-down back. So really like that. Dang. So Kyler Murray not able to complete that stack. Wasn't necessarily going to go for it unless he fell to us, but yeah, I'm not worried about it. Let's see. Likely going to go with Godwin or Lockett here. Again, who I expected to be taking. So we'll see. Is Miles Sanders got taken off the board. That guy's a sharp guy. And that was well above ADP, by the way. So hats off to that guy. That was a smart pick. I had a feeling that was coming, so I didn't want to celebrate too early. Go ahead and take Chris Godwin. Absolutely love him this year. Again, as a Steeler fan, I am not as big on Deontay Johnson. I don't know why I'm such a pessimist on my Steelers this year, but Deontay Johnson has stone hands at times. He was benched twice last year for drops. So he put up huge numbers, got the most targets by far of anyone on the Steelers, but Chase Claypool is by far a better wide receiver than him. You also have Juju Smith-Schuster, who is still a better wide receiver than Deontay Johnson. But they just provide different roles. Deontay Johnson's more of a slot receiver, is going to get a ton of targets just because Ben Roethlisberger loves his slot receiver. Looks over the middle a lot, looks for those short intermediate routes. A lot of that has to do with the game planning as well. Juju Smith-Schuster does the dirty work. Goes and puts a lot of blocks down. Runs the over the middle routes where he's getting hit. Chase Claypool runs deep routes. He diverts a lot of attention. So a lot of that was game plan last year. And now that Chase Claypool, by the way, Chase Claypool, let's see, he had to have been taken, right? No, he didn't. We may draft him here with our pick in round 6. He's going to be an absolute stud this year. The kid has hands that just so soft. He catches everything. I don't understand it. And he's obviously a physical specimen. Huge, fast, just has to stay healthy. We've seen him get hurt quite a bit. Hasn't really missed any time, but essentially every game he goes down dinged. Looks like he's in a drastic amount of pain, kind of like LeBron James type. But always gets back up. So Don't love to see that. Let's take a look. A lot of our guys got picked there that we would have gone with. Dak Prescott's there. That is so far for DJ Moore to fall. Yeah, we're going to have to go with best player available, guys. DJ Moore should not have fallen the whole way to 54 there. DJ Moore, you can see I had him ranked. Here, let's just bring it up to show you guys just how highly I have DJ Moore ranked. So take a look at this, guys. This is just to show you there's definitely an edge still here with DFS. You can see DJ Moore here. Let's take a look at wide receivers only. Okay. Just behind Deontay Johnson, just behind Chris Godwin, ahead of guys that were drafted well ahead of him. You know, guys like Julio Jones, Adam Thielen, Higgins was already taken. Obviously, Chase Claypool. You know, it's just DJ Moore, you know, is the absolute real deal this year. He was a top 10 wide receiver last year with Teddy Bridgewater, and deep threat, has very soft hands as well. You know, the knock on him coming out of college is that he wasn't very technical. Well, last year he showed that he can make all the sideline catches, was able to catch short routes, slants over the middle, was able to do everything. So those concerns are not valid. I mean, obviously, essentially proved everyone wrong last year. So for him to fall to us there, absolutely love it. If we're able to get Chase Claypool, we're going to be absolutely stacked at wide receiver again. We're going to have 5 guys that we're extremely confident in, and we're essentially going to be able to ignore the position for the rest of our draft. So it'll be a little bit nice, a little bit refreshing from our last draft where we were essentially taking every wide receiver possible. But we'll see if we can do that. Let's take a look at some backups, though. So if we're not able to get Chase Claypool, you can see that there's been an absolute massive run at running back, but somehow Raheem Mostert is still there. So if Mostert drops to us, I wouldn't hate that either. He's the clear-cut starter in San Francisco. You know, they've named him the starter over somebody like Trey Sermon. Jermichael Hasty isn't even a part of the equation at this point. And Mostert's been a very efficient runner over his career. And this is expected to be by far the best running offense in the entire NFL. So for somebody to take Trey Sermon ahead of Raheem Mostert, and that is Trey Sermon well above ADP. Again, to say that there's no edge in best ball, I show you this. Trey Sermon being taken 15 ahead of ADP, yet just recently Mostert was named the starter. So it's like, I don't know what that guy's on. He's drinking a little bit too much or something like that. So let's take a look at our board. We do have Chase Claypool there. He is getting a little bit close, though. Someone could very easily take him right now. Aaron Rodgers has fallen quite a bit. This would qualify for a position where I'd be willing to take him. Again, he's fallen quite a bit down the board. Chase Claypool just went. That makes that a little bit easier for us. But again, Aaron Rodgers off the board. But that leaves us with Raheem Mostert, one of the 3 guys that we were targeting. So not too disappointed there. Obviously, needed another running back because we only have Derrick Henry at this point. But now that we have 2 surefire starters in the NFL at running back, again, we're pretty much set at that position. You know, I love our wide receivers at this point. I love that none of our guys have the same bye week either. The only exception being DJ Moore and Derrick Henry. But again, DJ Moore is our 3rd wide receiver, our 4th wide receiver, not necessarily someone we're starting week to week. So really like our lineup so far. Really like our construction. Going to start to take a look towards quarterback, potentially even tight end. But tight end is not a very sexy position, guys. You know, if we take a look, it's a very flat in terms of talent level. You know, the difference between somebody like Logan Thomas and the whole way down here, Jonnu Smith is not that much. You know, Logan Thomas is probably going to average 12 and a half fantasy points per contest. Jonnu Smith probably 10 and a half, right? So is a 2-point difference worth almost 100 in ADP? Probably not, right? So we're probably going to take a wait on tight end. We're not going to invest in anyone too early here. You can see Chase Edmonds went. That would have been a decent pick. But we had somebody, Justin Herbert, drop to us. I don't hate that at all. Let's just do a little bit of digging before we go ahead and confirm that. Actually, I prefer Tom Brady. Tom Brady's ADP is not going to be available the next time we pick. We took Tom Brady in our last draft. Then I got Kenny Galladay here. Yeah, we're going to go with Tom Brady again. We're going to make the correct pick, guys. So Tom Brady, even better pick than somebody that we could take in like Justin Herbert. Obviously, Justin Herbert would have been the ADP play there, but in terms of talent level, in terms of what I'm projecting, Tom Brady was by far a better pick, and Tom Brady wouldn't have been available our next time around. So you can see We're not picking next until 92. And his ADP was 81. So right around when we're picking right here. I mean, obviously ADP would have said to pick Justin Herbert. Don't hate either pick by any means. I have plenty of exposure to Herbert as well, but for me, I'm always going to take my highest projected player, even if that doesn't line up with the board. And that was Tom Brady in that instance. So let's take a look. Corey Davis has started to go way early in drafts. Was a 15th, 16th round pick just a few weeks ago. So it's really glaring to see him go here in the 7th round. I don't agree with that. He was somebody I was targeting, in the 14th, 15th round a few weeks ago when his ADP was much higher. Now that he's going this early in drafts, he's definitely not making any of my rosters anymore. I had plenty of exposure to him when I was able to take him as late as I was before. Let's take a look. So, by the way, I'll remind you guys, if you guys have any questions, feel free to throw them down in the chat. It can be for the showdown slate tomorrow between the Cowboys and the Buccaneers. A lot of wonky pricing on that one. Scotty Miller at $1,600. Great play there. It can be about season-long fantasy, so it doesn't have to be for best ball. Or we can talk about any players that you guys are stuck between drafting or potentially trading for. So just let me know. Earlier in the day, I had someone ask me about a trade. Let me know in the comments if you have an opinion on this. It was trading Adam Thielen for Damian Harris, and he was the one trading Damian Harris, receiving Adam Thielen. Do you guys think that's a good trade? I think it was. Adam Thielen, I have him ranked a little bit higher than Damian Harris. He also was a little bit thin at wide receiver. The other guy was thin at running back. So a win-win situation. If you guys have any strong opinions on that, let me know as well. I was definitely on the Thielen side there. See, Justin Herbert's still available. Wow. People are like really high on Justin Herbert this year, and I'm really surprised he hasn't gone. You can see Matthew Stafford. I mean, I've raved about him before. I think he's going to break the passing yard record. For him to go ahead of Herbert there is just surprising, to be quite honest with you. You don't see that very often. You see somebody I'm much higher on than the public, Devontae Parker. I talked about him in the last live stream, so I'm not going to go into huge detail, but that whole Miami offense is going to be much improved. Devontae Parker had some nice games last year. Let's go ahead and show you. I mean, like 21 points, 22, 18, 24. It was a little bit inconsistent, but, had plenty of those ceiling performances. And as a backup in best ball, that's really all you're looking for, right? You're relying on your starters, and then whenever your backups have a huge game or a spike game, then they get inserted into your lineup. So he's a great backup, and we may be targeting him here just because every once in a while you see a sharp guy come and take him before me, which I don't like when that happens. And if Herbert drops to us, we're going to take him because it's crazy value in terms of ADP, and we don't have, Aaron Rodgers or anything like that. We got sniped again. Lovely. Happens. Okay. I was actually not prepared that time. That's great. Let's go to running back again. Again, should start at the beginning of the year, but Trey Sermon could buck him out at some point. So just in case, we are going to go with Sony Michel, somebody who I absolutely love, especially compared to the public. I'm going to take a look at his numbers from last year. When he got the carries, he was very productive. So we can take a look at his rushing targets. See, 4.8 average, 6.9 average, 7.4, 13 yards per rush average. Very productive, very solid running back. Obviously, to start the year, Gerald Henderson Jr. is going to be the starter out there in LA. But if you're going to stack up apples to apples, Henderson Jr. versus Sony Michel, who's the more talented player? It isn't particularly close in this instance. It's obviously Sony Michel. They also traded quite a bit of draft value to get and garner Michel on the team. So they're going to start him. They're going to play him. They wouldn't have given up stuff for him if they weren't going to start him. So I expect Michel, once he gets integrated into the offense, once he has a little bit more experience in the playbook down, he's going to start for the LA Rams. So I like being able to get him there. So not only do we have Sony Michel, obviously Derrick Henry and Raheem Mostert. I'm very confident with our running backs. I don't think we need any more. We may take a few flyers in rounds 18, 19, a few backups that could get some time if somebody goes down. But I'm confident with those three for our best ball lineup. So let's take a look at the tight ends. They're drafting well above ADP at tight end, so we're probably going to wait. Let's take a look. Okay. Could go with. So in this instance, we can see there's a lot of value at wide receiver. A lot of the wide receivers on the board are well below ADP. You can see let's check my personal favorite, obviously Devontae Parker, but likely somebody we can get in our next round. You can see we still have 30 picks until his ADP. So for me right here, we're going to go with Michael Gallup, by far my favorite wide receiver on the board. Still a good value in terms of ADP. Also somebody who is in an offense I think is going to absolutely thrive in 2021. Dak Prescott's back. He averaged over 500 yards per game when he started last year. Michael Gallup, let's take a look at how he played when Dak Prescott was in there. It was excellent. You can see he saw pretty consistent targets, at least 4 targets in every game. Saw 5, even 9 targets in a few games as well. You can see Dak Prescott went down, only 2 targets in that game. Had a few injuries in that game. That's why he got so many targets right there. But got a little bit more inconsistent. Still had a few good games though. I really like his potential. If somebody ends up going down like CeeDee Lamb or potentially even Amari Cooper, then watch out. Then he'd be primed for a breakout season. 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns, that kind of thing. So that's why I like him there in best ball. Oh, sorry about that, guys. All right, let's take a look at the big board. So let's take a look at the team. Our team's looking solid right now. We're very good at wide receiver. Again, we didn't necessarily need the depth with Michael Gallup, but a lot of that was a product of the board and who we had available. We are going to take Devontae Parker at some point, but we do need to address tight end. We can't ignore it for the entire draft. But again, the talent level is still very flat. From Noah Fant the whole way down to Evan Ingram and potentially even Gerald Everett right here. I see them as essentially swappable, right? Interchangeable. I don't see much of a difference in terms of their projection. Obviously, let's sort them by rank here. You can see which ones I like in which order. Noah Fant by far being my favorite out of this bunch, but none of them essentially stand out. By the way, the only reason I really like Noah Fant is because of Teddy Bridgewater, right? He's a definite upgrade over Drew Lock. And if you take a look at Fant's numbers, he had quite a few nice games last year before he got hurt. You see 20 points there, 12 points, and that was without a touchdown. A lot of that was just yardage production, and was inconsistent to begin the year. But again, he was a rookie, right? He was a second-year player. He didn't have very much experience. So I expect big things from him, but at this point, it would be a little bit of a reach. No one. All right. You can go ahead and take some Noah Fant if he's there. Let's go ahead and see how this shakes out. Most likely to be drafted, but you never know. You can see in terms of my rankings here, the only reason we're thinking about taking Fant because, like I said, I think a lot of this talent's flat, but he's still a good 20 slots ahead of everyone else. So even though I think it's relatively flat, he's at least the best of the bunch. Darnell Mooney. I don't think I have him in many of my drafts. You can see I'm right around the public with him, but he just doesn't stand out to me. See, Noah Fant got taken. I think that same guy right in front of us right there has sniped us like 3 times. He's in my head. So let's go ahead to tight end. Again, that would be a reach. We also had a few of our other targets taken as well. So we're going to have to pivot here. Will Fuller is going to be the pick. We can potentially go with a Miami stack now. Go ahead. Oh, wait, no, somebody took Devontae Parker as well. Wait, no, he didn't. So yeah, never mind. We can go with a Miami stack then. So Devontae Parker is likely going to be there our next time around. And I really like Will Fuller. So he's not going to start the year as a factor for the Miami Dolphins, but we saw just the kind of potential he has when he was able to start last year. 38 points there in week 12 before he got injured during that game. You see 24 points there in week 9, 27 week 6, 25 in week 4, 22 in week 1. Obviously, the Dolphins gave him as much money as they did so that he could be a factor in the offense as well. Tua has a training camp this time around. He's going to be a lot more familiar with that offense. I really like the sound of this Miami stack. I actually haven't stacked up Miami before. Not a team I have actively been looking to stack. But if I'm able to get these wide receivers at such good positions, like it looks like I'm going to be able to here in this draft, then they become very attractive options for me. So, yeah, we're going to take Devontae Parker if we can. And then we're going to take Tua, right? So that's going to be the last piece of this. We see Tua there at 150 ADP. We should be able to get him. Let's go ahead and queue him up just in case. And again, let me make sure good. So he's a week 14 bye. You see Tom Brady there with a week 9, so they don't overlap. All good there. Let's go ahead and go through a few more comments because we have some time here. So Samuel says Henderson's also injury prone. Yeah, dude, the guy's made of glass, right? Anytime we've seen him play extensively, he's gotten injured, hasn't played very often. So yeah, Sony Michel, even more attractive. Let's go ahead. So I've been taking a lot of Darren Arnold in the last round of my best balls. What do you think about that? Absolutely love it. So that whole Carolina offense is underrated. A lot of it's due to Sam Darnold, right? He was out there in the New York Jet wasteland, where essentially fantasy players go to die. We saw with Le'Veon Bell, especially, completely fell off the planet. The guy isn't the same. He's on the practice squad, for God's sake. If I told you 5 years ago that Le'Veon Bell was going to be a practice squad player, you'd tell me that I'm smoking crack or something like that, right? But Darren Arnold out there, completely being ignored, has good numbers. Let's take a look at them because they were really sneaky there in 2020, and a lot of people aren't giving him the respect he deserves. So let's take a look. 20 points there in week 13. 10, he was consistent. He saw targets, 4 or 5 targets per game. You see him down here, beginning of the year, he was left out of the game plan. He kind of earned that role over the season. And as he got more and more acclimated into the offense, he started to see more targets. He's obviously very athletic, has a lot of the height that you're looking for in a red zone wide receiver. And if you're taking him in the last round of your best ball, you're not losing anything, right? In the last round of best ball leagues, you're looking at the just absolute bottom of the barrel kind of guys, people that are likely 4th string wide receivers, potentially even 3rd string running backs. Getting a starting tight end, you could do a lot worse, right? So definitely like that, Samuel. So let's go ahead and take a look at how this is going to pan out here. We're obviously not going to have to take Tua in this round. You can see he's ranked as my number 149 player, but he's not being drafted until around 150 ADP. So we're going to be likely to take him in round 13. Let's go ahead and plan out who we're going to take here this round, though. So we take a look at our roster construction. We have our next QB planned out. We're likely to be taking a running back or a tight end. Again, tight end, we don't even have one yet, but we're dealing with bottom of the barrel guys anyways. So we might go Jared Cook, but that would be the only tight end on the board that I'd be willing to go to right now. So we'll have to see who's available. But again, tight end's just not a sexy position, right? You're just looking to get 7 to 10 points unless you get one of those top 3 tight ends and then move on. I do think there's a lot of value in going to one of those top 3 tight ends. You see Jared Cook just went, guys. So I'm not going to be the pick there. Let's take a look at running back. I really like Tony Pollard. Let's talk about, before I pick Tony Pollard, just because I know that's who we're going to pick here, let's talk about why I like him so much. Let's look at his rushing production. 5, 9, 12, 11, 8. He saw a significant amount of targets in every single game. And that was even when we saw Ezekiel Elliott out there and he was healthy. They weren't willing to give Ezekiel Elliott every single carry. They were giving him 18 to 22 carries. And I expected that to continue this year. They're trying to protect Elliott for the playoffs. They know he's extremely productive. They know he's the key cog in their offense to make it work. And they have to keep him healthy. So as a result, you're going to get a lot of production from Tony Pollard. And in best ball, he's really valuable just week to week. If Elliott ends up going down, obviously Pollard could be a top 10 running back in fantasy this year. But even if he doesn't, he's going to put up 5 to 15 points essentially every week. So if you have guys on bye week, if you have guys get injured and you need a spot starter, Tony Pollard, you can do a lot worse. You'd be putting up a zero burger, having somebody who gets just 1 or 2 carries, that kind of thing. At least with Pollard, you're likely to get 8 to 10 carries, a catch or 2 out of the backfield, and at least a solid amount of production as a backup. So I really like him there. Let's go ahead and take a tight end, guys. It's getting a little bit late here in tight end. It's definitely going to be the position that we're lacking on. Potentially could even go to our boy Dan Arnold down here. I think that was an excellent idea. I could, of course. All right, whatever. Someone took Tua as well, so you can't tell I'm getting very annoyed with getting sniped over and over again. That tight end. Yikes. Let's just say this is one of our worst drafts. But all right, we're going to take Gerald Everett. So a lot of people are sleeping on Everett this year. Let's go ahead and analyze why. So Everett last year wasn't on the Seattle Seahawks, obviously on the Rams. Still saw plenty of production, though. So you can see, obviously, he was the number 2 behind Higbee. Saw a decent amount of targets. But what I really want to point out is this average yards per catch, 12, 14. So he had a few games where they weren't as flashy. Again, a lot of that was because he didn't see many targets. But you can see usually averaged well above 10 yards per catch. He's more of a downfield threat than most tight ends. He's very athletic, very fast as well. Also has yak ability. Russell Wilson is by far a better passer than what he had last year. Jared Goff, complete shit for lack of a better word. Russell Wilson, a top 5 quarterback when he's on, when he's really firing at all cylinders. There's not many guys better than Russell Wilson in the world. So Gerald Everett could definitely do a lot worse than him. For him to be our number 1 tight end is definitely concerning. Don't want to minimize that right there, but we're going to go ahead and take 3 to 4 tight ends in this draft. Probably 2 with our next picks to make sure that we have a good mix. We can mix them in week to week. And we're going to be looking for 10 to 15 points every week from one of those 3. And that's more than reasonable. It'll be more of a tight end by committee than anything. Let's go. Any fades for the showdown slate tomorrow? So I'm generally fading the Buccaneers offense. And that'd be excluding Antonio Brown. They're just a little bit more expensive than the Cowboys offense. And I expect very similar numbers from both sides. So if you compare them apples to apples, you have about $800 difference between Dak and Tom Brady. You take a look at the difference between the wide receivers. It's just about the same as well. So I don't hate Antonio Brown. He's extremely cheap. He's by far my favorite wide receiver option on the Buccaneers. But I'd say as a slight fade, it would be the Buccaneers side, but obviously still going to have plenty of exposure there. Most of my lineups are going to have 4 guys on the Cowboys and then 2 guys on the Buccaneers. So that's how I'm going to handle that. I'm still going to have plenty of Tom Brady, obviously, but I would say if there's a fade, that would be anything. Ezekiel Elliott would be another fade, just because I think the Dallas offense is going to have to pass the ball so much. That front 7 over there in Tampa is just scary. Great middle linebackers, great outside linebackers. That D line is just monstrous. Ndamukong Suh anchoring it, just absolute run stuffers. They're going to have to pass the ball. So Elliott I'd say, yeah, he's the number 1 fade. We'll leave it at that. I just think game plan wise, he's going to be phased out a little bit more than usual. Let's take a look. All right, let's figure out what we're going to do here. We're obviously deficient at tight end, deficient at quarterback as well. And we're going to really have to pick our spots here. We're very solid at running back. Even though we didn't invest very early into our running backs, we're also very solid at wide receivers. So we just need to clean up these other 2 positions and we'll be in good shape here. So I don't hate Hunter Henry at all. Let's think. So there's going to be a lot more tight ends available than quarterbacks at this point. We only have 3 to 4 more starting quarterbacks even available. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go with Derek Carr. Again, I think he's going to have a better year next year than he had last year. The receiving weapons are going to be a lot more experienced. And then we're going to try and take one of these 2 the next time around. Zach Ertz isn't the number 1 tight end over in Philly, but all reports out of Philly right now, I said that Hurts just looks for his tight ends nonstop. Loves looking over the middle of the field. And actually, Jalen Hurts has looked to Ertz and Goddard more than any other receiving threat on the entire team. So even though he's the number 2 tight end, he's been number 2 in targets on the team. So I expect a lot more production from him than most other people do. So he could very well be the pick. The only other person I would consider in the slot would be one of these 4 quarterbacks. The order would be Bridgewater number 1, then Darnold, and then Wentz. So let's see what we got available. See, Ertz went. Henry's going to be gone, so I'm not even going to consider him. If he somehow falls to us, we'll take him. But if not, we're looking at one of these quarterbacks. And this is a wonky draft, guys. I mean, you take a look at this. His ADP is 176, and a lot of times I see it closer to 185, even 190. Here in this draft, we're here in the 15th round. We're already scraping the bottom of the barrel with these quarterbacks. It's definitely a wonky draft, to say the least. All right. Trying to think if there's any other fades for the slate tomorrow. Let's think Tampa Bay side. I mean, I told you the whole Tampa Bay offense as a whole, I'm a little bit lower on. Obviously, Elliott for the Cowboys just because of the game plan. All right, so we're going to go with Bridgewater. Okay. So that's 3 quarterbacks. I'm okay with our 3 quarterbacks, especially because Tom Brady's our number 1. Again, I see him as a top 7 quarterback this year, so he'll be the anchor of our team. We just need to fill out some tight ends here. Probably draft 2, maybe even 3 more tight ends. So let's see. In terms of a fade, though, if we take a look at the Cowboys side, I guess Amari Cooper, right? So Amari Cooper is priced above CeeDee Lamb. I like CeeDee Lamb a lot more. Is a little bit more effective on a per target basis. I also expect Amari Cooper to be shadowed by the number one. I forget his name, the number one corner for Tampa Bay. He's no slouch. So I don't like that for Amari Cooper. Yeah, but that's it for the fades. For me, I'm really just going to try and differentiate my lineup in terms of ownership. Showdown is a lot of game theory. It's a little bit less so projection based. I mean, we see some wonky showdown lineups win. People that have no business being in optimal lineups taking it down. So it's really more of a game theory type of DFS play. Obviously, something where you have 12 to 13 games on a slate, like we have here in week 1 for Sunday, is a lot more projection based. We have a lot more people to choose from. We can make a lot better plays as a result. Let's see. I'm going to make sure our bye weeks are all set here. Don't have anything overlapping too much. So you got a bunch of week 9 guys. Well, 2 of them. Not that worried about it. A couple backup wide receivers have the same bye week. Not so much an issue. Yeah, I feel pretty good about all that. The drafting is slowing down quite a bit here, which is a little bit frustrating, to say the least, but goes ahead and gives us some time to think through our next pick here. Eric Ibron, again, he's the number 1 tight end in Pittsburgh. A lot of people have it backwards. I think that Pat Freiermuth is going to see a lot of the targets. Maybe by the end of the year, Freiermuth ends up getting more of the share, but at least for week 1, Eric Ebron's our number 1 guy. So I wouldn't hate going to him here. Let's see, Darren Arnold. Again, we talked about him before. I know we mentioned him as a question in round 20, right? Round 20, great pick. I'm not sure I want to take him here in round 16, though. For me, it's a little bit early. That just shows you the kind of draft this is, right? This is crazy. These guys are going way early. Let's go with another question here because we have a little bit of time before this pick. Are you buying the hype on Lamb this year? Absolutely. Not only have I bought a lot of memorabilia of CeeDee Lamb, to show that kind of faith in him, I'm putting my money where my mouth is with CeeDee Lamb. All the advanced metrics are just fly off the board. I'm going to do a video on it at some point. I'm going to talk about my 5 breakout candidates for this year per the numbers. And if we take a look at advanced metrics on per snap numbers, per target numbers, everything like that, CeeDee again jumps off the board. He's great after the catch. He's been prolific with actually catching the ball. It has almost no drops to his name. I believe has 0 as of right now. Also extremely quick. One of the fastest 3-cone drills we've ever seen. Very good shuttle times as well. Just unbelievable potential. So yes, absolutely buying the hype on CeeDee Lamb, literally and figuratively. I've put quite an investment behind that personally in terms of memorabilia. I have a 1-of-1 playbook CeeDee Lamb, the black version. It's a beautiful signature, also black ink on it as well. Not for sale. That is something I'm going to hold on to for quite some time. I've had someone offer me 10 grand for it. I'm not going to part with that. That is potentially the retirement fund someday, right? I actually pulled that out of a pack, so even adds to the hype a little bit more. It's not every day you pull a card of that magnitude out of a pack. Let's just say that. I've opened quite a few sports cards packs. Let's just say that. My DFS winnings, a lot of that has gone to sports cards over the years. Let's just say that. All right, so we got one of our tight ends. We're going to need a few more here. Again, we might have to take Darren Arnold, right? Again, I don't hate his role in the offense. I think he's going to put up very sneaky numbers this year. Just don't love taking him in the 17th round, but we're going to have to. Just one of those drafts. I mean, I want to see who's available, right? Like who's not being drafted. That all these guys are available. Good wide receivers, solid running backs, right? It's a shame. If we would have ended up taking one of those top 3 tight ends, if we would have had Waller, Kittle, or Kelsey, we would have been absolute gold, right? With those last 3 picks, we would have been able to invest in a lot of these top end guys that are being ignored in terms of ADP. Hubbard, Kirk, Jackson, KJ Hamler, talked about him before, absolutely love. Even Alan Lazard, all those guys. We're not able to, though, because we have to go and draft these tight ends. So that just shows you the power of going to one of those tight ends early. Obviously, it looks very good in hindsight, would have done so in hindsight. But just want to point out my mistakes from time to time, right? You don't know how the draft's going to pan out beforehand. That's the unfortunate part about these drafts. But you can definitely learn from your mistakes. So that was definitely one right there, and one I can improve on. Let's go ahead and look at our roster construction. See, we're relatively balanced right now. I'd say we're a little bit shallow at running back. We don't have quite as many as we'd want to. So let's go ahead and put a few targets on here. Chuba Hubbard falls to us. Sheesh, that'd be great. Obviously not going to be starting or anything like that for Carolina. But again, McCaffrey went down for the year. And when Mike Davis came in, looked like an absolute stud. I mean, got a huge contract out of it for the Falcons. Is now a starting running back for him. So why not Hubbard this time around? I don't hate Malcolm Brown either. So Malcolm Brown's for the Miami Dolphins. He's going to be behind Myles Gaskin. Again, Myles Gaskin has been an absolute piece of glass to start his career. Hasn't been able to stay on the field, so don't hate that. We took Le'Veon Bell in our other draft. Already talked extensively about him. Don't hate Byron Scott either. So let's go ahead and put all those guys down there. We're going to end up taking one or two of those guys to finish off this draft. We're potentially going to be taking Chris Herndon as well. Okay, I thought he just got drafted. I was going to be really pissed off. But let's go ahead and put those in order there. See if there's any other, glaring people. He's not starting. So Deshaun Watson, guys, he's being drafted earlier than I'd expect. A few weeks ago, he was being essentially undrafted. I was taking him in round 20. But he's the number 4 wide receiver for the Rams. So while he was a stud in the past, didn't look great last year, and he doesn't really fit their scheme. They're more of a short pass scheme. The only thing I think that's really interesting for Deshaun Jackson is all those fly sweeps that they're going to run. They're likely to run end arounds, that kind of thing, jet sweeps. Deshaun Jackson, that's his game. He's a speedster. So I love that for him. But other than that, not necessarily a great option there. Go ahead and see if there's any questions in the chat. I'll remind you guys, if anyone's gone into the live chat since I've last mentioned it, feel free to throw any questions in the chat. It doesn't have to be for best ball like we're doing right now. It could be for the showdown slate tomorrow. It could be for your season-long lead, any trades you might want to think of, any trades you've been offered, any of that kind of stuff. Feel free to throw in chat. It doesn't even have to be about fantasy football. Hell, we could talk golf. Obviously, if you're a subscriber on the channel, I talk a lot of golf here. A little bit of golf withdrawal with no golf tournament this week. We got a European Tour tournament, so I've dabbled into DFS there. Put like $500 or $600 on laps over there. So I thought it was going to be a light week, but got to get my golf fix in, it seems. Let's see. Chuba Hubbard fell to us. That is ridiculous, guys. The guy's being drafted around 177 in terms of ADP, and we just got him at 213. Geez. Again, when people say there's no edge in best ball, just show them this draft. All right, let's hope Herndon falls to us. Again, he got sniped with us in last draft. I really like the potential. So let's take a look at what I'm talking about when I talk about potential. He has a 19-point game there, 9 targets. Very inconsistent. You can see a lot of middling performances, especially early on in the year. But was good on a per-target basis. It was productive, is a more athletic tight end. Someone capable of putting up a lot of yak, yards after catch. So if he falls to us, I would really like that. Especially with the Minnesota offense. That's a huge upgrade. Much higher volume, much better guy throwing him the ball in terms of Kirk Cousins. So really like Chris Herndon there. And by the way, I'm also going to be doing my video for this weekend's slate for DraftKings on tomorrow. So we're going to be covering the whole I believe it's 12-game slate for Sunday. I'm talking about all my favorite quarterbacks, receivers, tight ends, everything. We're going to talk some of my game stacks as well. That's going to be a longer video, probably an hour, maybe even an hour and a half long. We're going to do a complete breakdown. Obviously, with so many games on the slate, there's a lot to go through, but we'll get it done. We're going to be using my database approach as always. My custom modeling, a lot of it has to do with target shares, running rate data. A lot of that is perspective though in week 1. A lot of rookies are being introduced to the mix. We have a lot of different lineup constructions. People brought in from free agency. So a lot of the rate data is a little bit skewed to begin the year. That's why it's not going to be on my Patreon at the beginning of the year. I need to get that cleaned up, right? We need some data inserted into the system. It's going to take us 3 or 4 weeks to really get that calibrated. But once I do so, that'll be published just like my golf predictions. week to week. So just expect that. Just understand at the beginning of the year, it's not something I can do. I rely on data. I use mathematical modeling, and I'm not going to do guesses, right? I'm going to use the data. I'm going to rely on what's actually reliable, not go based on narrative, that kind of thing. So just keep that in mind. It's going to take a few weeks to get those produced. But once we get some of that rate data in, once we start getting some of the target shares in, that kind of thing, that'll be produced just as always. And that'll start on the golf. So I'm going to do a little bit of a trial in weeks 2, week 3, as I get it calibrated. So if you're part of the golf Patreon, you'll get access to that for free. I know a lot of the guys that are in my golf Patreon don't even play NFL fantasy or anything like that. So it'll be ignored by those guys. But anyone that plays fantasy football, obviously feel free to take advantage of it. My goal is just to put it out as a trial basis until we get it nailed down. So again, look forward to that. And once we get that completely going, weeks 3 or 4, like I said, it'll be some of the best predictions in the business. Again, a lot of it is predictive basis. Again, we need the rate data to come in for a lot of it to make sense. But it's by far my most sophisticated form of modeling, by and far. Okay, I like our tight ends now. We have 4 tight ends. Again, it's more of a tight end by committee, but I feel pretty confident about that now. Our wide receivers are absolute studs. We haven't even had to take a wide receiver since very early in the draft, but all of our options are very solid there. So we're going to go best player available for our last draft pick. Let's go ahead and see who that's going to be. If Boston Scott's there, we're going to end up taking him. John Brown just got cut. See, that's interesting, though, because he could very well be picked up by someone. And by the way, that's the same thing with Latavius Murray. So let's see if Latavius Murray's picked. Probably was. Yeah, he was. So Latavius Murray is dropping in fantasy drafts now. His ADP is just absolutely hitting rock bottom. And that's because he was let go by the Saints. He was only let go by the Saints because he wanted paid more money. And you know why he wants paid more money? Because he knows how damn good he is. He went out there in camp and was absolutely killing it. When we saw him play for Alvin Kamara last year when Kamara was out, he put up massive numbers, 8 yards per carry, scored multiple touchdowns per game. Murray's going to get signed by someone, and he's going to have a legitimate role on a team. So while Murray's falling in a lot of the ADP, I think him getting cut by New Orleans is only helpful for him. I mean, he wasn't going to start in front of Kamara. I mean, Kamara's a top 3 running back in the NFL, for God's sake. But Latavius Murray on a team that perhaps has an injury come to one of their running backs, or comes in as depth and ends up winning a job from someone, he could be extremely valuable. So I definitely like Latavius Murray, but hoping he perhaps dropped in this draft. But he was probably auto-drafted by someone. He's still very high in the rankings in terms of ESPN. So somebody's auto-draft probably got him. Not even the worst thing in the world, to be honest with you. He's a very underrated play going into this year. So, all right, that was another draft, guys. I'm going to enter another one here. I don't know if we're going to stream the entire draft. We may stream like half of this or something like that, just because it's getting a little bit late here. And can only talk so much about the strategy stuff before you go crazy. Let's go ahead and join this here. So it'll start here in a second. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about the Showdown slate tomorrow. So if you guys are new to Showdown, a lot of it comes down to strategy and game theory, like I said. Positive EV, expected value, that is, in Showdown, comes a lot more from making your lineup unique than it does from having the best lineup. There's been plenty of studies done on it, plenty of papers written on it as well. Specifically 3 or 4 years ago, when the whole Showdown is essentially cracked by a few people, a few bright guys over on Fantasy Cruncher. They ended up proving that lineup construction was everything with Showdown. When you end up entering a lineup with the max salary in a Showdown, you have like a 70 or 80% chance of duplicating it with someone else. When you leave $200 on the table, you still have like a 30 or 40% chance of duplicating it with someone else. It's not until you leave $600 or even $700 on the table, you have less than a 10% chance of duplicating another lineup. So a lot of it's leaving salary on the table. It's also making sure that you have a very unique lineup in terms of ownership projection. In that paper, they found, I believe it was like 115% ownership projection was the breakthrough point. If you had 115% combined projected ownership, then you had a 50-50 shot of having a unique lineup. Again, if you did that and then you left $400, $500 salary on the table, that's how you really minimize your chances of being duplicated. So I'll go ahead and put that in the chat here afterwards. So if any of you are watching a replay, I'll go ahead and put that paper down there. It's a very interesting read. Essentially, to have a productive Showdown lineup, you not only have to leave salary on the table, you also have to be willing to play a lot of pivots. Make sure that your projected ownership is below 115, 120%. So keep that in mind. Obviously, if you go out and enter the best lineup every week, best projected lineup, you're going to share first place, once, maybe even twice in a year, but you're going to lose money. When you chop first place with 100 other people, you end up winning $500 or something like that. That's not profitable at the end of the year, because every time you lose, every time you were unproductive and weren't able to take down that money, you lost more than you ended up winning. So keep that in mind. Showdown's an interesting format. We'll say that. It's the people that are the best at Showdown are some of the brightest guys in the entire industry. They are very good with the game theory side of things, and they rely on that. That's really how they make their hay. All right, so we have the number 11 pick here. One of my favorite spots to draft in the first round. My least favorite would be 1 through 4. Even though you're getting one of the best players on the board, I don't necessarily like the options towards the end of the second round, in the 18 to 24 range. But now that we're here at 11, we're going to be able to get 2 solid options with our 11 and 14 pick. Let's go ahead and map some of those out. So we're going to be living right around here. Some of my favorite options personally, obviously Saquon Barkley. We talked about that before. I was loving when I was getting them in the beginning of the second round, when I was getting him right around pick 14. But now that he's been announced as the starter, obviously the health is checked out as well, going a lot earlier. So we're going to have to take him here at 11, if anything. Also really like Stephon Diggs. So Stephon Diggs has the best quarterback in the NFL throwing to him. I don't care what anyone else says. Josh Allen is a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes, has a lot more rushing ability, in my opinion, a better arm as well. Again, we'll have to see how that comes down the line. Obviously, Mahomes has a big head start in terms of Super Bowls and success as well. And in terms of talent, I definitely think Josh Allen's on the same level, if not better than Patrick Mahomes. Perhaps that's a hot take, but I don't think it is. We see Saquon Barkley went a lot earlier than usual. He went with the number 7 overall pick. That is very surprising to say the least. We have guys like Tyreek Hill still on the board. So if somehow Tyreek Hill survives these next 2 picks, he's going to be a slam dunk pick for us. But I'm so comfortable going with somebody like Stephon Diggs. Again, I had him. Yeah, you can see Tyreek Hill went. That was pretty much a no-brainer pick right there. And then we had Stephon Diggs go. So that leaves us in a little bit of a unique scenario right here. No man's land, at least for me. We're going to go with Eckler, right? So Eckler is not somebody I typically get a ton of exposure to. I'm a little bit lower on him than most, but I don't typically see him there at the number 11 pick. So in terms of opportunity cost, it would have been too much to leave that on the board. So I don't mind getting a little bit of exposure to Eckler. And it's a high volume offense. He's very good in PPR formats as well. I just think he's being drafted a little bit earlier than he should be. He's going around 7 or 8 in fantasy drafts. But for us to get him at 11, I don't mind that. See, DeAndre Hopkins went. So for me, it's Nick Chubb, and it's not particularly close right there. I know a lot of people are going, well, you always say don't take running backs early, right? That's if, you're taking them ahead of ADP. Most people are stacking running backs early in our draft. But we can see here, guys, the wide receivers are going much earlier than usual. Not only did we see Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams go there in the first round, we also saw Stephon Diggs. We saw DeAndre Hopkins go there at number 13. Hopkins is typically ADP 18 or 19, that kind of thing. So for us to get 2 elite level first round running backs, I'm thrilled. We're essentially going to be able to ignore the position for the rest of the draft. We're going to take the strategy of stacking up on wide receivers, because we don't have one of those first or second round wide receivers. We're going to do it by committee. We're going to draft 7 or 8 studs in those mid-tier rounds and go from there. Go ahead and make sure the setup's still good. Looks like we're all good to go. Let's see. Let's go ahead and see who some of the other people have been drafting. Let's see, Patrick Mahomes goes early once again. I don't get it, guys. I think arguably you have 2 or 3 other quarterbacks that are just as good as Patrick Mahomes in terms of fantasy, if not better. He's obviously the best thrower of the ball in the NFL, but when it comes to fantasy production, he doesn't have that rushing upside you're looking for. Josh Allen has plenty of rushing upside. Obviously, other guys like Kyler Murray have plenty of it. Lamar Jackson, heck, even Dak Prescott. Obviously coming off the injury, but he's no slouch running either. So let's see. Oh, a lot of running backs are staying on the board, guys. Let's take a look at this. So Antonio Gibson, at this point, well above ADP. You can see down here, Edwards-Helaire and Robinson typically going right around this range as well. So I have a feeling we're going to see a run over these next 5-6 picks at running back, which is going to leave us quite a good selection at wide receiver. If we take a look at ADP, we might be able to get somebody like Justin Jefferson or Keenan Allen. So potentially, A.J. Brown as well, one of these guys. I'd be thrilled about that. Let's go ahead and see. We have quite a few picks to go, so we'll have to see about that. But definitely a run at running back. Maybe I spurred that on with my 2 picks early on, but that was more of an ADP play. I wasn't rushing running back or anything like that. And hell, even Josh Allen's going early. CeeDee Lamb before Justin Jefferson. Even I wouldn't do that. The guy who has all the memorabilia wouldn't even do that. What are you guys doing? Pick Justin Jefferson. He's the pick by far. Yikes. Yeah. Whoever just got Jefferson there with 29. Hats off. You got lucky. That was a good pick. All right, so we could still potentially get A.J. Brown. Don't hate that. Let's get this sorted. There's no way Kittle falls to us. If he does, we can get Kittle. Yeah, I was going to say there's no way he does. That would have been a really solid pick. Again, the value of getting one of those top 3 tight ends is that you can almost ignore the position for the rest of your draft. So if we had our 2 stud running backs and a solid tight end, we were essentially just going to be drafting wide receivers and quarterbacks the rest of the way. Obviously, even A.J. Brown got picked. So a couple of our guys got sniped from us there. Can't really fault them, though. That was by far the best play. We're in an interesting spot here, though, with James Robinson. I mean, the guy's a workhorse back. He's a number 1. I mean, do we take 3 running backs and then just really punt wide receiver? I think that's what we're going to do. Perhaps this is the 0 wide receiver strategy. Maybe we're making a new DFS strategy here. But, yeah, we're going to go with James Robinson. That was just a pure ADP play. Very surprised we saw him as far as he did. And we are still going to be able to get one of these elite tier wide receivers. So I love both these guys for the LA Rams. Again, I expect that offense to potentially put up the most passing yards in league history. Last year, they still put up great numbers, even with Jared Goff as their quarterback. So loved both of those guys. Amari Cooper is probably going to get picked here. If he falls to us, all the better. But if not, we're going to take Cooper Kupp. So let's see who Norman takes. I mean, he took a wide receiver. Potentially, Cooper could still be here for us, which would be great. It will put us with 3 guys with a week 7 bye, which is not ideal, but we're not going to make decisions further up the board based on bye week. That's not the way to do things. When you're taking backups and whatnot, that's when you're looking at bye weeks. You want to make sure you're drafting backups that don't have the same bye weeks as your starters. But you don't want to worry about your starters. They're going to play you 16 of the 17 weeks this year. They're going to get you a majority of your points. The 1 week that they're out, fill them in with a backup. That's what the backups are there for. That's what the whole best ball strategy and format is made for. So let's see. Miles Sanders still on the board. I think if anyone takes him in here in the next few picks, that's a great pick on their part. All right, so we're drafting next here at 59. And at 59, we're going to be looking at a wide receiver. Likely going to be looking somewhere in this range right here. Potentially Antonio Brown. Definitely going to be available on the board. His ADP is closer to 70, but I'm much higher on AB this year than others. DeAndre Swift. It's pretty early for Swifty. Let's take a look at this guy's team. So, yeah, he got 2 stud wide receivers. Yeah, this guy's got a really solid start to his team, this Shade Nasty guy. I think both of his running backs are all right. So I understand why he took Swift. He had those 2 stud wide receivers. Yeah, it's a good start for him. He took Jefferson, like I was telling everyone to. That's why his team looks so good. He's got so many good value picks there. Let's see. Hopefully this guy gets put on auto draft or something like that. I don't like to see people using all 30 seconds in any draft, let alone the night before football, right? We only got so many hours to finish these best ball drafts before kickoff tomorrow. Come on, man. I mean, Gus Edwards getting auto drafted. That's pretty expected. Let's see. While we have some time here, we'll talk about the Euros a little bit. Screw it, right? I know you guys might not be golf guys, but we got about a minute here before our next set of picks. They're playing at the Wentworth. It's the BMW Championship. And essentially, the whole storyline for the week is the Ryder Cup. The Europeans still haven't picked their captain's picks. So you have essentially every European in the world trying to make that team, looking to go impress Patrick Harrington. So you're going to see a lot of guys playing pretty hard. You're going to see storylines within the storylines this week. And the best part is it starts at 1:30 a.m. So if you're a night owl like me, somebody who doesn't get much sleep in general, you can flick on the golf in the middle of the night. So figured to give a little plug out there because there's no PGA Tour event this week. So again, I'm going through a little bit of golf withdrawal, and I'll be getting it with my European Tour picks this week. Let's see. So let's get prepared for our next pick, guys. We're up here in 7 picks. Let's go ahead and get this figured out. So again, I think it's a little bit early to go to quarterback. So I really like Dak Prescott, though. You can see I have him ranked at 46. Again, I usually like to wait on him, though. So if he's available at 62, we'll take him there. But, our draft went away. That's not good. Let's go ahead and get that back up there. But we're going to be looking at a wide receiver most likely. Again, our wide receiver core right now is very solid. It's way better than most of my teams. Let's see. All right. Again, our running back's just ridiculous, right? We have Austin Eckler, Nick Chubb, 2 first-round running backs that we got there early on in the draft. We're even able to get Robinson, who fell, about 10 picks to us. So we're going to be on wide receiver for probably the next 5-6 picks. I love Chase Claypool, love Antonio Brown, like I mentioned before. Further down the board, we can be targeting people like Devontae Parker. We're going to be able to get him. You see Chase Claypool just went. Very sharp pick right there. Let's see. Might be able to wait on Antonio Brown, take him there at 62. Prescott's available. Okay. Let's do this. We're going to take Dak because I'm confident we're going to be able to get Brown at 62. So that's why I want to take Dak. You see Aaron Rodgers went. Someone could have taken Dak. Tom Brady went. Okay, cool. We're going to go with Antonio Brown. So you're going to get 2 of the guys that I was really targeting right there. Obviously, wait. Okay, I was gonna say I thought it made me pick the wrong person. Okay, good. Be able to get Dak like I wanted to. Also, you're able to get Antonio Brown. Again, Antonio Brown, somebody who has a lot of rapport with Tom Brady at this point. Even though he's only been there for 6 games. They were living together, obviously get along. And Tom Brady's always loved his slot guy over the middle. We saw it with Julian Edelman. We saw it with Wes Welker way back in the day. Those kind of guys put up 100, even 110 catch seasons. Antonio Brown, just a few years ago, one of the best wide receivers we saw in the NFL, put up historical numbers, most catches we've ever seen, nearing the most yards we've ever seen in a season, 17, 18 touchdowns a year. He's obviously not going to return to that kind of production. He was off of football for quite some time. But for him to go out, put up 1,200, 1,300 yards, 10 to 12 touchdowns, that is well within his range of outcomes and actually what I expect from Antonio Brown this year. So for us to get him where we did there, it may look like an ADP stretch, typically going right around the 71st to 72nd pick. We took him at 62, but well warranted in my opinion. He's well better than the ADP there. And in best ball, you want to make sure you pick your guys. If you have to pick them up a little bit earlier than normal, so be it. We did the same thing with Dak Prescott. Again, we took him with the 59th pick overall. His ADP is closer to 62. I mean, on my rankings, he's at 46. So still a great value in terms of my rankings, but I'm always willing to go to guys like that a little bit earlier than most. So now that we have Dak Prescott, a very solid quarterback, somebody we're going to use for probably 13 of the 17 weeks this year, we're going to hammer wide receiver, like I've been saying for a few rounds here. So we got another about 10 picks until we pick. Yeah, 10 picks. So personally, I want to try and get one of these three guys up here. Wouldn't mind Kenny Golladay. A lot of people are going to him now. He's getting a lot of steam over this last week, but the clear number one wide receiver over there for the Giants, Juju Smith-Schuster, against somebody who I think is actually going to have the second best receiver stats for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but being drafted as the third wide receiver. So don't hate the value there. Again, I think a lot of that has to do with the game plan for the Pittsburgh Steelers. More of a short run and dunk offense. They don't want to get Big Ben hurt or anything like that. So they're going to get the ball out quick. So Juju Smith-Schuster going to see plenty of targets here in 2021. See where he will start. I like that pick. That was a short pick by TJ there. But we're not looking at running back. I'm not worried about that. Still got our three guys on the board there. Devontae Parker will likely take in about 3 rounds. Who's a really interesting pick? I might take him like right now. I'm going to go with Marquez Callaway, guys. Marquez Callaway is getting a ton of steam. And if we're talking week 1 DFS, which I'm going to have the video up tomorrow, he's going to be by far the most chalky play in the entire slate. He's near minimum price, the number 1 wide receiver for the Saints. And now that the Saints have Jameis Winston at quarterback, they are going to be fantasy viable once again. I mean, we saw Jameis Winston throw tons and tons of yards down there in Tampa Bay, despite having 30 interceptions, and have 3 top 20 wide receivers as a result. So he makes some of the most garbage wide receivers fantasy viable. I mean, guys like Rashad Perriman. So for Marquez Callaway, somebody who has legitimate upside as a wide receiver, he could be due for a real good season. And we can see he might even be available here. That would be beautiful. Come on. I've been sniped enough today. I really have been. And a lot of these snipes, they've been even below ADP. People even reaching on people, sniping me. Oh boy. You gonna make your pick? Great. Yeah. I'm not even gonna talk about it. Whew. All right. Let's just go ahead and pick Cortland Sutton. Sick. Sorry, I gotta look at this guy's team. So not only does this guy take all 30 seconds, right? He snipes our player, which means he was there. It means he was there for all 30 seconds. He picked right on the button and took our guy. That is hard to swallow. Let's just say that, because he would not have been the auto draft pick at that point. We're going to take Galladay. Do you go Galladay? Yeah, we're going to go with Galladay. Like I mentioned before, I was targeting Kenny Galladay, somebody who's the number 1 wide receiver for the Giants. Had a very productive year last year, despite not having Matthew Stafford for a good portion of it. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the stats. Let's go back over to my roster. So we took a look at Kenny Galladay. He had 20 points, 17, 16, 17, and then he got injured, right? Didn't play the rest of the year. But before he got injured, was extremely productive. Saw plenty of targets, very high yards per catch as well. Was on pace to be a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. Obviously had the horrific injury, but we've seen so many of the guys that got injured last year come back and seemingly look very healthy this preseason. So I think he's being a little bit slept on. I mean, hell, guys, Cortland Sutton, I mean, we ended up drafting him before Kenny Galladay there. He also had a horrific injury. And if you take a look at their game log, I mean, goddamn, he played 1 game last year, had 9.6 points. So do we really think Kenny Galladay is that much worse than Cortland Sutton? Absolutely not, right? So that's just an example of where the ADP isn't correct. I mean, Kenny Galladay was going 2 rounds from now. That's why we were able to wait on him, but Cortland Sutton going way earlier. So just obviously want to check that. I think a lot of that hesitancy has to do with the quarterback situation for the Giants, but they have Daniel Jones, obviously not one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, likely to be a bottom 10 producer in terms of fantasy production. But up there in Detroit, it wasn't much better, right? Matthew Stafford was hurt for much of the year. And again, yeah, it wasn't much better. So you can see Matthew Stafford going right there. I like him. Again, it's well documented. I'm not going to talk about it for a third time now, but great quarterback, great pick there. With our next slot here, we're going to be looking for another wide receiver, maybe a tight end. Let's look at our options at tight end. So we're going to be picking with pick 107. So if Noah Fant's there, I would love to go there. Gesicki and Goddard, I think there's a significant step down in production. Just the quarterback play for Denver is a little bit more consistent. If we are going to go wide receiver, though, that is where I want to start stacking up a little bit of value. I don't hate Michael Gallup, don't hate Mike Williams or Mike Thomas. And let's go ahead and sort this by rank. You guys can see by far my highest ranked wide receiver is Devontae Parker. But again, I have him at ADP 130, and we're a few rounds out from that. So go ahead and wait there. Let's go ahead and hope Noah Fant drops to us. Worst case scenario, we're going to go with one of these wide receivers. And just a heads up, there are more Derek Jeter NFTs dropping tomorrow. So keep that in mind. Maybe put a reminder on your phone. I believe they start at like 3 o'clock. They're like $250, $250, $500, $750, $1,000 or something like that. But they're selling for like 5 to 10x the money. So if you end up winning one of those, end up winning a drop or something like that, highly recommend buying it and then immediately flipping it. Just throwing it out there. It seems very profitable. I've made weeks worth of bankroll just off the NFTs. So I definitely recommend it. We'll just say that. All right, no fans still there. Let's hope. Michael Thomas went off the board. I'm kind of expected that. He's who some of the sharper players are starting the draft. We're able to get Noah Fant. That's a good sign. I want to take a look at this guy's roster. The guy who took Michael Thomas. Wow. Okay. Yeah, this guy's roster is going to be an issue. So this guy right here, Sun IC, very solid roster. You can see I don't like Najee as much. Definitely like David Montgomery, especially in these PPR formats. But that set of wide receivers is scary. Travis Kelce, scary. Obviously took him in the first round. And I like those running backs he's put around himself as well. So sneaky good roster over there. A little bit jealous, to be quite honest with you. That's one of the better rosters I've seen in quite some time. This guy is so nice. I don't like Trey Sermon as much. I would have gone with somebody like Mostart, but I believe Mostart was already off the board. So we're going to take Mike Williams. I'm going to take a look at this guy's roster. I guess running back's a little bit weak for him because I don't think Najee was the best pick, but whatever. I mean, I like our team more, obviously. It's the reason why we picked the guys we did, but he definitely ended up with some good value picks. Had a lot of people drop to him. He took Joe Burrow. Yeah, I guess sharp. That is a sharp drafter. I may go Jameis Winston here. So we already have Dak Prescott. I mean, like I just mentioned with Jameis Winston, the guy just throws the ball an absolute crap ton. He's going to put up a few 400-yard games, a few games with 5 touchdowns, that kind of thing. So having him as a backup is fantasy gold, exactly what you're looking for. He's going to put up those spike performances. But again, way too early to be considering that. Would be a little bit too far ahead of ADP. For me, right now, I'm looking at wide receiver. I'm also taking a look at some tight ends. So obviously got a tight end with our last set of 2 picks. Could be looking at another one here as well. A few of the targets I'm going to be looking at. I really like Dallas Goedert. Like I mentioned, Jalen Hurts has been very much so looking for his tight ends. Has targeted them more than anyone else during preseason. I really like Rob Gronkowski as well. So he could potentially be a backup there. But a wide receiver, this is where we're going to try and get a majority of our targets. It is about the range where I'm going to start to take somebody like Devontae Parker. So he's going to be the pick with our second option here. Potentially the first. If there's a little run on wide receivers, we see 3 of these other guys go, we'll go there. So we'll see. Yeah, we got another 10 picks. Damn, Godart's ADP is a lot higher than I thought. He's probably going to be gone. But Gesicki's still there, so maybe we get lucky. We'll see. All right, let's see who got picked. See if we got any sniped. Not yet. Wow, Hunter Henry getting picked over Godart and Gesicki. That is questionable. Wow. That is very questionable. I want to look at his team. Is he throwing? Is he colluding? Like, what is going on? No, he's got a solid team out of that. His only tight end, and he took Hunter Henry early. Fucking moron. That's all I've got. I'm not even gonna hold back my words. That guy's a fucking moron. All right. Good. So Devontae Parker and Goodart are still there. We're gonna go with Goodart first if he's still there, because it's a little bit of surprise he's still there in terms of ADP. He's the best player on the board. Wouldn't be surprised if we got, wow, we went with Gronk. Thank goodness. So we're going to get Goodart there. I definitely like him over Rob Gronkowski. Gronkowski is going to be a force in the red zone, but likely not going to play when they're between the red zones. You know, he's going to be somebody who they bring in for their specialty packages. I expect OJ Howard to be the main tight end outside of that. So OJ Howard, a little bit slept on this year in terms of fantasy production. They just don't want to risk injury with Gronkowski, right? He's getting up there in age. It's a little bit fragile. So for him to play just normal downs in the middle of the field, it's just not going to happen. You know, it might happen in the playoffs, might happen if they're getting close to a division title, that kind of thing. But I don't expect him to be playing a lot of the downs, especially early on in the year. Let's take a look at wide receiver. I don't like these Moore brothers here. I don't like anything I'm seeing on the board right there. So let's look at ADP. We're going to go best player available, which might be Kenyon Drake. It may be another tight end. Yeah, we're going to go Jared Cook, guys. So we're going a little bit more best player available right there. I just wasn't thrilled with some of the wide receiver options. So these guys up top, you know, these rookie wide receivers, I just think they're being drafted earlier than they should be. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, I wouldn't have minded, but again, it would have been well above ADPs. And I'm not looking to reach for any of these wide receivers. I mean, we already have 5 on our roster. 3 of them being pretty elite options. Obviously have a few good options for our bench as well with Galladay and Williams. I like the way our roster is looking. We're definitely going to need a quarterback over one of these next few rounds. Plenty of good options still on the board. Going to take one with our next pick. Probably looking to get another tight end or 2 as well. Actually, no, we have 3 tight ends. Check that. We're going to be looking at quarterback, a few running backs, a few wide receivers. Pretty standard end to our draft here. Nothing out of the ordinary. But let's go ahead and look at the pick history. See if there's anyone we can roast here. Let's see Austin Hooper going that early. It's slightly questionable. Not roast worthy though. Ryan Fitzpatrick going that early. That's questionable. Not roast worthy. OJ Howard going that early is roast worthy. I mean, it's a good pick, but guys, look at this. He's number 225 ranked, being drafted at 140. And that's pretty much right along ADP. I don't rank all the people on ESPN the whole way out to like 220, 250, anything like that. This guy, Jay Valerio, is very questionable. You know, he's taken some people you just wouldn't expect. I mean, Hunter Henry is his first tight end over some really solid tight ends. And then he also took OJ Howard as his second tight end. Yeah, you know, two very questionable tight ends there. Not who I'd want to be relying on. Let's just say that. Wow. Maybe the guy knows something we don't, right? Maybe he's going to go out and win the Millie Maker, make me look really stupid. But I would not be making those picks. Come on, Delmore. I mean, at this point at 147, so taking a look at those wide receivers I was mentioning, I don't mind them now. You're getting them well above ADP. They're decent options then, but to be drafting them in the 11th, 12th round where they're typically getting picked, that's a little too early in my opinion. But we'll see. Oh, wow. Quarterbacks are going off the board quite fast here. It's a good thing that we're planning on taking one here with 155. So let's go ahead and identify the ones of choice. For me, it's going to be Matt Ryan. A close second is going to be Ryan Roethlisberger. Third, Tagovailoa. Fourth, believe it or not, is going to be Trevor Lawrence. Just not somebody I'm high on this year. Expect a little bit of struggles from the rookie. See, we're glad that he got picked there. Wasn't somebody I was really looking to target there. But now that we only have 3 people in between us in our next pick, I do expect to be able to take one of these 2 quarterbacks. It's just going to be a question of which one's available. Again, Ben Roethlisberger would be the preferred choice here. Get Sterling Shepard. Like to see that. And we're going to get a quick pick here, guys. If you see the guy in between us, between our 2 picks, is on auto draft. So let's go ahead and figure out our next pick. And again, it's going to be stacking at wide receiver. We already have 2 elite running backs. We're about to pick a quarterback here. We're good at tight end. So let's go ahead and identify a wide receiver to pick. And it may be Marshall Jr. I mean, again, that Carolina offense is a little bit slept on. They're losing Teddy Bridgewater, but even though he's the number 3 wide receiver, he could see some pretty good production. Let's go ahead and take Roethlisberger. That was our pick there. Let's take a look at what we got available. So at running back, I don't love any of these options. At quarterback, we could take a third quarterback. I don't necessarily – actually, we're going to go ahead and do that, guys. So here's the thought process. We already have Dak Prescott. Absolutely love that. Also have Roethlisberger and Tagovailoa. The issue is that Prescott and Roethlisberger have the same bye week 7. So don't love that. We obviously need a quarterback for week 7. So that's why we went with Teddy Bridgewater there. It was also important to get a quarterback when we did there because let's take a look at the options. Essentially, Zach Wilson, Derek Carr, Darnold, Wentz, and Jones, Bridgewater, these 6 quarterbacks, and then everyone else is a scrub. People you wouldn't want to start in DFS. So for us to be able to secure the quarterback position when we did was very important. I expect to see a run on quarterback over this next round or so. Yeah, we'll have to see on that, but I do expect a run to happen because of that, which is a little bit self-inflicted, but I'm all right with that. Let's see. And in terms of roster construction, we're good at quarterback. We're good at tight end. Realistically, we have all the running backs that we need in terms of starters. I mean, Eckler and Chubb are just going to be studs. And to go to wide receiver, it might be our weakest position. But again, we have 2 guys to be extremely confident in, Antonio Brown, Amari Cooper. And I really like Sun, Galladay, and Williams this game. So this is one of my favorite drafts I've had to this point. At this point, it's just going to be looking to get some depth. I mean, I like all of our starters. I think we're going to have consistent production from week to week. I really like our chances with this lineup to make it through the first 14 weeks. I think it has the kind of consistency that we're looking for. What we're looking for now is some big play potential. We're looking for somebody who in weeks 14 through 17 could have some big games, could win us that $1 million, that kind of thing. So we're going to be reaching a little bit here. We're going to be taking some high potential guys to make sure we can lock them in. Number 1 right now on my board would definitely be Tre'Quan Smith. Same thing with Marquez Callaway. Now we have Jameis Winston throwing the ball down there in New Orleans, and he makes some of the shittiest wide receivers in the NFL look like absolute gold. Tre'Quan Smith was actually above Marquez Callaway on the board last year. Was the number 2 wide receiver for quite some time when Michael Thomas was out. So this year, I mean, Tre'Quan Smith, he's coming in as number 2. Marquez Callaway has clearly earned that number 1 slot, but Tre'Quan Smith's still going to get plenty of targets. Over there in Tampa Bay, Jameis Winston gave Rashad Perriman over 1,000 receiving yards in a year. I mean, the guy just got cut by the Detroit Lions, who have absolute dog shit wide receivers. So if an absolute dog shit wide receiver can get over 1,200 receiving yards with Jameis Winston, Tre'Quan Smith can. So if he falls to us here, I would be very thrilled. So I'm holding my I'm crossing my fingers here for that. Let's see. Come on, Tre'Quan. It'd be right along ADP too, so it's questionable. He's also a very popular pick among the touts, among the people that are very educated on this. He's not overlooked. He's the number 2 number 2 wide receiver down there in New Orleans. So definitely not a sleeper pick by any means. See Byron Pringle. I definitely like Byron Pringle. I have him in plenty of my drafts this year. Traquan Smith went. I think that was the same guy. No, it wasn't. Okay, I think I was going to say that was that ice guy. He was very, very sharp, but it wasn't. Let's take a look. So, that's a little bit of a bummer, guys. That would have been a great pick. KJ Hamler, also somebody I really like. And we already get a tight end. We could take a look at running back. Latavius Murray. If we don't, we could probably take him with the second pick. Okay, let's go with KJ Hamler. Then we're going to go with Latavius Murray with 182. Okay. So I'll explain the Murray pick. Murray was, and let's pick it up here to confirm this. Murray was just released by the Saints on Tuesday. So like I mentioned before, that was due to pay dispute. It was not due to talent. So Murray is likely to be picked up by someone else. We don't know who that's going to be at this point. But if it's somebody who has an injury to a running back or somebody that has absolute dog shit running backs, he can end up starting. So Latavius Murray has more than enough potential. Just to show you the kind of potential he has, let's take a look at some of his starts. When he started here in week 4, 21 points. It seemed later in the year, 19 carries, over 100 yards, 28 points. Again, towards the end of the year, he saw some more carries because they were resting Alvin Kamara, especially week 16. You see 72 yards, 6 yards per carry, 12.5 fantasy points. So very productive, very good running back. Just a matter of getting him the carries. Okay. Very balanced construction right now with 3-4-6-3. Probably good on the bookends there with quarterback and tight end. Really going to be looking for some value picks, some more flyer picks. And let's go ahead and identify some of those guys. So we're looking at picking here in another 13 picks. Have quite a ways to go until our next pick here. So going to have to look a little bit further down the board. I really like Hunter Renfrow. Talked about the Las Vegas offense before. Hunter Renfrow was Mr. Third Down last year. It was very efficient. Definitely like that. So that's going to be our wide receiver target. If we're going to end up taking a running back, probably going to be taking a look at somebody down here in this 193 to 212 range. Personal favorites, Jerick McKinnon. Really like his potential, especially if Allaire ends up coming out of the lineup. Don't hate Carlos Hyde either. Again, they had Etienne go down for the year. James Robinson's a very solid pick. I believe we have him in this lineup. Again, he was our flex pick from earlier. Taking his backup wouldn't be a horrible idea. So we'll have to see how this all pans out. I ended up getting picked. I'm okay with that. Again, we have James Robinson. So our upside would have been capped a little bit. Obviously, picking both in the same best ball is not a horrible idea. Kind of the handcuff approach there. But don't have to worry about it. You end up getting taken. All right, 3 more rounds. Okay. McKinnon's going to be our first pick here. And then we're going to go with Renfrow if we can. So again, McKinnon, great injury upside. It's going to catch a lot of balls out of the backfield, a lot more than Allaire is. And then with Renfrow, that whole offense could really surprise this year. I think a lot of people are going to be surprised by that Las Vegas offense. Wow, look, Teddy Bridgewater is the only quarterback available. Him and Goff here in round 17. Damn, I don't know what it is with people recently. Everyone's been drafting quarterbacks way earlier than typical. I don't really understand it, but definitely a trend to notice. I've seen it over the last day or so. Perhaps it's the casuals. I'm trying to think about it. Perhaps it's the casuals coming in, drafting right before the season. They don't know better. They think quarterback's the most prime position. It is in real life. They get paid the most. They have the most attention on them. Perhaps they think it's the most important position in DFS, but that is far from the truth. Far, far, far from the truth. If that's what you guys are doing in your analysis, definitely need to change that. So we're going to be able to get McKinnon, hopefully be able to get Renfrow with our next pick here. Let's go ahead and see. Going to be able to get Renfrow as well. So really like our first 19 picks. Going to be taking a look at wide receiver with our last pick. Again, we have 5 running backs, but 2 of our running backs are absolute studs. So 5 is more than enough there. At wide receiver for our last pick, if Lazard is somehow still there, we're going to take him. But again, at 195 ADP, likely to be drafted. More options, more likely to be available. Jordan Palmer. We could take a look at Zach Pascal as well. And if we absolutely have to, Scotty Miller. That would be the lowest I'll go. So let's see who's available. I mean, hell, if Teddy Bridgewater is still there, we'll take a fourth quarterback. He shouldn't be available here in the 20th round. Or sorry, 19th round. But let's see. Let's put him on the big board. If he ends up still being there, we'll take him. Tight end, we're pretty set. Fant, Goddard, yeah. I mean, Dan Arnold. Guys, if everyone gets drafted on our board, we'll take Dan Arnold. Okay. Teddy Bridgewater. Finally. Lazard, finally. Dwight, Malcolm Brown. Okay. By the way, Rashad Perriman did get let go by the Bears. Sorry, let go by the Lions, was signed by the Bears on Wednesday. So could be a pick. He's going to be the number 4th string wide receiver there. Needs a few injuries to go his way to crack the starting lineup. But actually in a better situation there with Chicago than he was with Detroit. Not somebody I'm going to be picking. Not really the biggest Perriman fan. But if you have to take him in the 20th round, if you don't have any wide receivers, we could do worse than him. All right. Yeah, a lot of our guys just get picked. That's a little unfortunate, but we'll see. Tim Patrick's being slept on a little bit. You know what? No. I don't think I have Tim Patrick in any of my leagues, guys, and we need to talk about him real quick. Let's look at his stats. Obviously, they have Cortland Sutton coming back. If Jerry Jeudy was hurt towards the end of the year. But when Tim Patrick played last year, he was huge. I mean, he had a lot of yards per catch, was consistently seeing 4 to 5 targets per game. It had some monster games, 20 points, 12, had 19, 10, 12, 17, 26, 14. He was pretty good. It had his starts here. So for a best ball format, I really like that. I'm looking for that kind of potential. So we're going to take Tim Patrick, somebody I don't have in many of my lineups or many of my builds. So I like getting there for that reason. And we're going to take Dan Arnold. So I don't love our 4 tight ends, our starter being Noah Fant. I mean, Goddard and Cook are good fill-ins, but to have a 4th solid option in Darren Arnold, somebody who's going to start, get plenty of goal line production, I don't hate that for any reason at all. So I really like our lineup there. That was our last pick for this draft. Thank you guys for sticking around for the whole stream. Obviously, one of the longer ones we've done here on the channel, but appreciate you guys. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments if you're watching this on replay. I'll try to get to them at any point. And as always, if you guys enjoyed the content, make sure to like and subscribe. Not only does it help me out with growing the channel, it also lets me know that you guys enjoyed the content. So I know to make more in the future, that kind of thing. So with all that being said, good luck with any of your fantasy lineups. And again, you can leave any questions in the comments if you have them. And until next time, tomorrow's video will be on our last minute strategy, as well as a video on our Sunday DraftKings picks. So look forward to that. And again, see ya.